Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Wrist Shot Week. I think this is episode 23, if I'm not mistaken. Right, let's get started by welcoming all of you here. Thank you, one and all, for joining. Going to have an excellent time. There's all sorts of things on the table, which we're going to talk about. But first, let's say hi to a few of you. I see Dr. Bob, Raymond, Sam Ray, Eric Bell, Gary Powers, Dylan, Underachieving. Who else? I saw Thomas. Welcome, Thomas. And many more. I see Philip and Scott and many more names. Okay, I've got to get this thing rolling. So, what should I do? Can you hear me? Comment 1 in the chat. That's normally our go-to call sign. Now, this preview page crashed twice before the show started. So here's hoping that that's the downside of having such high-res photographs. Okay, good. You can hear me. Thank you, Dr. Bob and Carl. Welcome, Carl. And James, what an absolute pleasure having you here, James. Right, you can hear me fine. Thank you, Scott. Right, this page crashed twice, and I've just been suffering from dry eye. It just so happens, when you're about to start the show, got to put all kinds of ointments in the head and, got all the stimulants lined up on the table. So the theme of the show, the reason it's called Simplifying Your Watch Collecting Strategy, because it's very difficult to name 23 episodes that are around the same subject, and B, it's fascinating when we break down the watches that we're seeing, because the variety is kind of focused in a few specific areas. And I like that. And this is such a good watch that epitomizes this, since we're talking about the Speedmaster so much. This being a first generation, we'll talk about this in a moment. This is from Dear Artifact. It made the cover. And as we know, Dear Artifact takes some of the most, I think this photo is also 25 megabytes in size, and it's just insanely good. I hope you can see everything fine. I think it's okay. Right. More of you in the chat. Thank you all for joining here and being here. I see Chris and Brent and Baron and Tetley and Stuart. Welcome, everyone. Get the scotch out. It's out already, Raymond. And Jean-Claude Beaver. What a pleasure having you here. So welcome. And Mooseman. And yeah, if I continue in the chat, it'll take all evening. If you want to ask any questions, tag me in the chat, as is normally the case, and I'll get to them. But this should be fun. I wouldn't say it's the most complex series of watches, which I also kind of like, but we're going to see some good stuff. We've got Pateks, APs, Rolexes, Omegas, Seikos, Tudors, the whole spectrum, and some gorgeous photos to add on top of it. So yeah, pound the drums. Thank you for joining us. Your watches are featured as well. Right, let's get started. So, the theme of simplifying watch collecting. We know just where the focus is now in the YouTube watch space, and what sells and what interests people. And this is an example of a watch that is getting a lot more attention, as it deserves to receive. But this is a time when we can start deviating and looking into other areas, possibly other categories that you've never considered before. And this is what makes this hobby so much more fun. I mean, this is what the learning process is all about. Okay, so Dear Artifact, your watch and everything will be featured a bit later on. Thank you for sending this in, as always. I mean, there were some good contenders, but I mean, the quality of this photo. I should have mentioned, this is a JB Champion Forstner bracelet that he's wearing it on. Something that was very popular back in the day. It was one of the, the main utilitarian bracelets that astronauts used. Help me with the references and the manned missions, but yeah, looks great. Very functional, focused. Don't know if it's the most practical, but it's utilitarian in that way. I see Bud the Stud joining us. Bud, your AP is going to be featured, and that's going to be a joy. Chi-Town, welcome. So good having you here. Asking how the Seiko is. It's very good. I got a Marine Masterclass for it a couple of days ago, and it just changes it completely. And Raymond from South Africa. I've just seen from a few friends that you're having load shedding in Cape Town at the moment. So good on you. I don't know how you're watching the show at the moment. Eskom is the electric supplier there, and yeah, I know that all too well. Right. And watch and pray. Pleasure having you here, and many more. Please tag me in the chat if you'd like to ask some questions, but let's get going. This is a Hesalite model. I'm sure most of you know that by now, with the crystal being nice and clear. There's no milky ring around it for the sapphire. Okay, so what am I drinking? This is the booze on the table. Can't argue with standard Glenmorangie original. And I wanted to take a moment to focus in on this little guy. This is my modern field watch of choice. A mutual friend of the channel sent it in for a review and for a bit of experience. And the brand is called Drop Felix. And that's a fascinating thing when you start breaking down where it's taking its inspirations from and everything else. Taking a hit from the coffee, and I'll be with you in a moment. Jean-Claude with the whiskey. Yeah, got it. I mean, it's a Saturday. It's 10 p.m. Got to enjoy it. Glenmorangie Original is just the standard. It's fantastic. Would recommend. Highly recommend it to everyone. Okay, so this is on a 22 mil khaki strap. I use this for all my workouts, running in the evening. And I find the aesthetic quite fascinating because you're looking at something that's very American inspired. This is something that you would expect to see on Elgin's and, you know, very World War II field watch based. But then you see Hamilton's using similar aesthetics, and, you know, we have needle hands. But what I love the most about this watch is its party trick, which is insanely cool loom. I mean, look at that. It's fascinating. It's very overly technical, but I think it also has some form of modernity to its aesthetic too, which I really appreciate, which is fun. But yeah, it's a good way to start. Got to say, it's a fun piece, and I'm really enjoying it in the evenings. Right. Next announcement. So I collaborated on a watch project. I don't know if Eddie is watching, but we are about to launch, or should I say he's about to launch a new watch on his platform. And this is what we have dubbed the Commando. Taken a few inspirations and references from the past. And, you know, most of you probably know, if you follow this page long enough, Smiths. I love Smiths watches. I only have like 4 of them. But this has been a very cool exercise. Being able to, you know, get into the design, enjoy a bit of the process. Tell you what, I don't know if I'm the best when it comes to designing watches or putting perspective involved. James is asking price. Hold on a second. I actually have the link. Those of you who are watching, the bonus is store is opening tomorrow. And for a couple of minutes, as far as I know, there's the link to the page if you'd like to see the specs. But it's been a very fun time. My week has shifted quite a bit because I was supposed to be doing a video on something else. This arrived in the post, and I said, okay, I've got to base it around the release of this. So next week will be a review on this piece, comparing it to the Everest and some of the inspirations that I took, you know, bits and pieces from Oyster Perpetuals and, of course, the Commando. So this being the Gen 1, it's been a very good time. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it. It's my daily wear for the last 3 or 4 days. I see Marcus joining us, and Orange Hand, good to have you here. And Hans, we're talking about South Africa, this and that, and pounds. And we're talking about the rugby today. That was good. I'm sure Eric must have enjoyed that game. Yeah, it was a good try. Pretty brutal. I think he fended off about 3 guys to get over the line. Right. So, got to say, I'm enjoying this watch. This was a couple of minutes ago, hours ago, I should say, on a Jubilee. So the inspirations, everything will be mentioned in the video when the review is going on. I focus in on just, you know, the small aspects. It's amazing what a few small tweaks can do to the aesthetic of a watch. That was the whole game plan and the idea. It's still 36 mil, maybe, or it depends on how this watch does. If people receive this well, if you like the idea, so we can further explore and expand all kinds of, you know, ridiculous ideas. I've got many ideas in the head cooking up, but this is a good start. It's pretty proud about that exercise. Right, enough gushing. I'll put the link in the chat again if you'd like. I don't know if that's going to help anyone, but if you'd like to see the page, the specs, all of that, go for it. Let's start the show with Alejandro. Right. So the watch is cool. Don't get me wrong, but the view, it's actually very difficult to judge which is better. It's pretty hectic to start with a Vacheron overseas, but that's what we do sometimes. So it looks like, as far as I know, it looks like a black variant, black dial, black leather. And yeah, I mean, this watch has been spoken about so much. I'm actually sick of seeing this watch because King Flume on Instagram, Fahim, he normally joins in often. He picked up a blue dial variant lately, and he's been spamming it so much on the platform, and it's hilarious. But it's a gorgeous watch. Can't ever. James is asking, where's the Jubilee from? Aftermarket. Found it on eBay. I think I've had them for like 3 years. I pick up whatever I can find. If I see an end link that works, or if I see a bracelet that looks good, pick it up for $25 or whatever. I don't know what they're going for today, but eBay is your best resource. Be surprised what you can find. All aftermarket stuff. Right. Hitting, what else should I have now? I should have some water, I think. The coffee is drying out the throat. So on a leather strap, now this is the thing. Alejandro is on holiday in this shot, wearing a leather strap San Luca in Mexico, facing the Sea of Cortez. And I mean, those of you who are based in the UK, look away now, or in Europe, I should say, look away, because this is just it's freaking paradise. So as most of us know, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're getting snow and cold and freezing rain and everything else. This is quite a way to dampen spirits in the alternative. Just an absolutely stunning setting. Nice way to brighten up the show to begin everything, don't you think? Okay, hitting the water quick. Shaitan, yes, Carbo. I hope I'm getting that right. And James, thank you. I got to say, it all happened very fast, but it's really nice to feel like you're being a bit more creative with your time, as well as making videos. It's nice to like dig into being a designer a bit more on occasion. Right. So gorgeous view, gorgeous watch. I mean, it's quite a way to start the show. How do we get better than a VC overseas? Well, we can if we then hop to Andre next. Alejandro, thank you for sending these in. And we jump to a Moser Ventura concept Vanta Black. This is like a fan favorite, mine included. I personally prefer the Tourbillon, given the opportunity. but I mean, it's like, what? How do you start a show? How is the show going to go? It's all going to be downhill from here, right? It's just incredible. Now, the whole thing with Vanta Black is it's a dark hole that you're looking into. I'm actually surprised that there's any reflection on the crystal. But it's a beautiful machine. I mean, this is just Moser in the purest sense. How cool was their release? I think it was this week. Their Swiss Alps watch. I think it's the final edition with the loading symbol on the dial. It's hilarious. I loved it. Right, Vanta Black with a Vanta Black car. Yeah, Sam Ray. I mean, as far as I know, the only time they use Vanta Black on cars is when they're prototyping them, when they're testing them on the Nuremberg Ring and that sort of stuff. Okay, minus 30 degrees. I know, Carl. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like you can't even go outside in that weather, right? And that's Celsius. Good evening, everyone. Greetings from Holland. Yes, Ryan, absolute pleasure having you here. And many more. I've got to try and like deviate my way away from the screen to look at the chat if I can catch. Not enough lume on the dial. Sean, I agree. This watch is not a lume monster. And you might struggle with telling the time if you're not very well centered when it comes to looking at the dial. I mean, you're going to be out by a minute or two, but then again, you're dealing with quite a stylish machine, so it doesn't really matter. BMW X7, yes, Samurai, that was one concept. I've seen a couple, actually. I think I've seen McLaren tested as well. Okay, so I've got to move on. We have quite a varied selection, but on top of it, we have like over 100 submissions, so we have to diversify a bit more. A black hole, yeah, no light will escape, of course. This is the first time we've seen the standard Vanta Black, so I think it's worth just sitting on this watch for a while. The Tourbillon we have seen before. It's one of my favorites. It's just an absolute beast. But it's fascinating how we've decided to start the show with an absolute monster in this category, don't you think? Okay, getting the cardigan off, one-handed. Hold on. And let's move on next to Andrew, who sent in a Tudor GMT. Oh, you are kidding. Right, so this is a good way to start. Tudor GMT, and he told me that the GMT is set to Cape Town time because I think he has relatives based there. It's amazing how South Africa just somehow gets linked into these shows some way or another. We already had Raymond join in. I think he's probably dropped out already, but it was good having you, Raymond, while it lasted. And yeah, another example of Andrew with family on that side of the world. They must be enjoying the weather. That's all I can say. So there's more talk about rugby. Hans, lines out, scrums, centers. I was not impressed by. Yeah, I got to say, England's game was very, I've been watching Scotland's game, and over the last year, they weren't on form at all. I mean, they just couldn't finish, when it comes to scoring. Today, they were on the ball. They were really, it's amazing how offense can really change the format completely. I think England was caught off guard a little bit during the game. I didn't watch the whole thing because I had to set up the show, but it was pretty good. Still, everyone can return. Right. Any more comments going on that I'm missing? Let's see. Luckily still here. Don't know how much longer. Yeah, Raymond, by all means. It was good having you while it lasted. Okay. James asking, I ordered a slate gray orange leather strap for the Equus leather. Oh, geez. 3 months ago, which arrived this week. Stuck it on my Skyflake. Are you familiar with? I've never heard of Equus leather before in my life. EQUUS. No. Never. Send me a picture by all means. I've only got like 100 of them here. For next show, we can do it. So what do they call this? The Pepsi Light or the Diet Pepsi, I think. These are still very popular, and I think for all the right reasons. This whole category of, again, trying to get back to the theme of simplifying your strategy. When you look at the Tudor brand and what they offer and the prices of their watches, it's hard to complain. It really is hard to complain for what you're getting at the end of the day. And it makes perfect sense why so many are jumping onto them. You can easily jump from brands like Tudor to Seikos and further along the line. They're not so much outliers, but they are, quote, attainable in the scheme of things next to what is in demand at the moment. And it's well worth looking into those areas. These aren't the attention seekers at the moment. The 58s are still the ones that are getting the most. So by all means, this is a good example of a watch that you should look into if you're interested in GMTs and all of that. Right. More questions. Chi-Town, rugby, American football for those who like getting their ears torn off. Oh, yeah, got that right. Okay, Andrew, thank you for sending this in. Nice to see that you're using the GMT as a reference time. Next, we're jumping to Aristide. I hope I got your name right. Circle Rouge is your username. Now, this question was actually a gorgeous shot, by the way. Let's just get the background. It's always nice seeing some context. Now, this was a question actually asked of me and us the last show, I believe, which was about Rolex discontinuing the Wimbledon dial Datejust, and now we get to see it. I mean, that's what I love about these shows. You never know what's coming up, and this is an example of something that I don't think we've ever featured before. Well worth having a look at and discussing. I see Demetrius is joining us. Beautiful Tudor that you sent in. Diet Pepsi, yeah. You talk about American football. I love American football. It's also a fascinating game for different reasons. Lots of strategy. And I do enjoy it. If I can catch a game, I do really enjoy just trying to make sense of it all. It's not rocket science when you break it down. It's all just down to how the plays work. And there's a lot less momentum in American football. You have, 4 downs, where rugby is just perpetual, doesn't stop all game until you have halftime. It's a lot. I would say, European rugby is a bit simpler. It's very simple. It's just basic. You don't pass forward, pass back, tackle, keep going, tackle, keep going. Okay. So this watch is 41 millimeters, I believe, as far as I know. It's been a while since I've looked at these. I'm actually quite surprised that it doesn't have a fluted bezel. Is this the only configuration of this watch? I'm sure this watch had a fluted bezel. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is an example of a watch that I think lines up very nicely with like the Masters edition day date that they featured a couple of years back, where it had that gorgeous olive green dial. Yeah, it's really interesting how they've balanced out the quarters at the 3 and at the 9 with the date window. I don't think there's another Rolex out there that does this. Super Bowl tomorrow in Tampa, Raymond. Who's playing? Please fill me in. I'm afraid I don't get much American coverage on the side. Okay, I've got to scroll up and see if there's anything else going on in the chat. Again, James, sorry that I haven't been saying hi to you in the chat. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're just debating amongst everyone in the chat. I have got a lot on the plate this evening. Right, more coffee in the system. I see Mark P is joining us. Welcome, Mark, and Cedar Canoe. All of you guys will be featured later on. Okay. So this interesting piece. Let's try and zoom a little bit closer in and have a look at the specs if we can, the details on the dial. Thoughts on the idea of an outlined green around the Romans. I do appreciate Romans on a Datejust and on a day date. I think it works very well. Between Romans and standard batons, I do enjoy the Romans as something that just adds a little bit more visual complexity to a dial. When you're dealing with something that has a fluted bezel on top of it, it can be a bit too complex. So there's this fine balance. Interested in knowing what's going to happen to these pieces. And funny enough, in a moment, we're going to be looking at a Air King. Excellent shot from 121 click bezel. There he is, Dylan, if you're in the chat. It's going to be good to have a look at that. And I see Clive is joining us. Welcome, Clive. Good having you here. So now it's just gone full on rugby, football fight off. We got Chiefs and we got, guys, this is going to be good. Just debate away. Eagles and Chiefs. I don't even know what states they represent. Sorry, everyone. I am very behind on that side. I just enjoy the game. I struggle with keeping up with all the teams. Okay, moving on next. Thank you for sending this in, Circle Rouge. Really nice seeing this watch. I don't think we've ever featured this on the show before. And this is episode 23. Funny enough, Rolex, I don't know how much variety we're going to be seeing in the Rolex camp. There was one, one Explorer 2, and I think that's about it. No, there's a Submariner or two, but other than that, and an Air King. But Rolex is quite minimal for a change, which is pretty good. Perfectly, lines up perfectly with simplifying watch collecting and diversifying. Right, next to Azam. We've never seen one of these before, but this is a group shot taken in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. And it's a bit of a watch fam hangout. It's so good to see that these are going on in some parts of the world. So let's start from here. I'm going to struggle with determining what these watches are in the shot, but we will try. I'm going to assume this is either a micro brand or it's a Panerai. Help me out here. We've got wire lugs, so that's a telltale sign. We have two pushes, which is a bit peculiar. I think that's for the inner bit. I think it is a micro brand. We've got a compressor style bezel there. Panzera, maybe, Sam Ray. Thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know. The image is a bit pixelated, but we can kind of, we'll come back. We can kind of make out bits and pieces here. So then we have a IWC Pilot Magic Mouse, darling. Don't do that to me. Apologies. As the coffee gets to the brain, it's going to take a little bit of time. So we have a chronograph, Pilot chronograph from IWC. Nice size, great looking piece. Then we have an Oris pointer date. These are very cool. How am I able to make this out from a few pixels? It's pretty good. Sorry, I'm seeing Neil in the chat. Welcome, and many more of you. Sorry, Carl, I'll get to your question in a second. This was a collaboration between, Worn and Wound, I think. Worn and Wound and Oris. Help me out there. I do love a burgundy dial. Then we have a date just, looks like could be a 36 mil blue dial, Jubilee. Very nice, flat bezel. Then we have a watch that's upside down. That's second wrist. Are we double wristing here? I don't know. Maybe it's a bracelet. Over here, this looks like, oh God, I don't even know. This is a really pixelated Seamaster maybe, or maybe a vintage Rolex. It's very hard to tell. Over here we have looks like a Harrods edition Tudor Black Bay, a little bit of green. This is great fun. And then we have a Luminor, easy to tell Luminor with a bezel. And then out of the blue, we have a Paul Newman 6239 on a Jubilee. I love this watch on a Jubilee. It's just stunning. I hope you can see this. Maybe it is a Cellini. Sabre, thank you for that. How cool is this watch on a Jubilee? That's quite out of the blue. And then in the middle, we have a Richard Mille RM 8 or a 10 or 11. I can never get it right. But talk about a pretty cool hang. It's good to see this. We've stayed on this photo for long enough. Some good questions. Let me try and get you in the chat. I've got to say, out of all of them here, that Newman on a bracelet, I think, is just awesome. I think the Jubilee really, I mean, let's try and zoom in again. I'm already losing my voice. Got to get some fisherman's friend in me. This watch is already very dress-oriented. In a way, the Daytona has always been quite formal, but it's also a sports watch. So I like that dichotomy of the two parts. I see Carl joining us. Evening, folks. We need to show some love for playing at the end of the videos. Oh, the guitar playing, Carl. Yeah, I just thought might as well. I've got a guitar, well worth just trying to play at the end of the video. Behind Blue Eyes, you got it right. Yes. And Neil, again, welcome. Oxblood Oris. Oh God. Again, tag me in the chat, guys. I'm really struggling with reading. I'll try my utmost to keep up with you. I think this Newman on the Jubilee is stunning. Awesome little watch hang. You get all the variety here in one place. This is actually such a good summary of the watch community. And that when you do get to meet up, because this happens, when you're meeting up with people, you sometimes stumble across people who do collect vintage Daytonas and Richard Milles. But then the beauty is that you can appreciate watches like Oris and the pointer date, the simple date just, the Harrods Black Bay, probably one of the best releases they've done in this zone. It's awesome. It's really cool. So nice seeing this. Send in more group wrist shots. If anyone who represents Red Bar watches these shows, send in your stuff. Love it. I need, when the world opens up again, Red Bar London, got to make it happen. Right, moving on to Bob. Thank you for this, Azam. We're on B. We're running the show for 23 minutes already. Oh, God. So Bob sends in 2 Breitling chronographs. We never see these. Chronomats, I should say. Now, I mean, this is what I love about the variety. These watches are getting a lot more attention, I think. Or have they always had attention? I don't know. Diversity, Mark, exactly. It's incredible. It makes this hobby so much more enjoyable, especially when everyone just gets to a table and just throws down all their watches, and you get to see the different tastes that people have. Okay, what should I have now? Water. The throat is definitely drying up in here. This is what I hate about the winter, is that the rooms get freezing cold, so you up the heat and that dries out the air, so you go blind, and breathing is difficult, and so it goes. And James is mentioning in the chat, sorry, I'm missing you guys again. And Dylan saying claps to Martin. Really well played. I wouldn't say really well played. I've only had the guitar for 2 months, 3 months, but it's an absolute dream coming true. Owning a D28, it's it's a grail. It's the one acoustic guitar I'll ever need. Really, don't have to get another one. I'm a bowl, Hans. So I see James. Oris is a great watch. Harrods Tudor is one of the best collaborations. Yeah, I mean it's gorgeous. I think I mentioned it in the video criticizing the squeaking chair, criticizing the Hulk. That was a terrible video from like 2 years ago at this point. But I love the idea that they've blended the olive green with a black dial. Olive is such an appealing color. It works with everything. And it livens up the watch, but doesn't shout about itself. I see Chaz is joining us. Welcome. Absolute pleasure having you here. We've got all your submissions. We're getting to you in a moment. So Breitling, Breitling Chronomat Airborne. I'm going to be stumbling my words. It's a really interesting piece, gotta say. It's like, they take the Navi timer and they simplify it a lot more, make it usable, functional in a practical sense. I do dig how they keep their aesthetics the same when it comes to their bracelet, their bezels and the crowns and the balance on the dial. Gotta say, I love an embossed logo. This is a very 70s looking set of batons around the dial, nicely balanced, everything else really clean. But we're not done yet because we have another one. So this is called the Airborne. Next up, we have the LE41. Sorry, limited. I think it's, hold on. It's the limited edition 41 Chronomat. That's what I was supposed to say. Now, these bezels get a lot of flack because the typeface, I mean, that's the one thing that's criticized about this variant. I think this is quite an older generation of this piece. The typeface is so peculiar. You never see it on another watch. It's like, it's difficult to explain. And over the last few weeks, all I've been doing is critiquing type. I've got to say, I can't be a watch designer because I would pull my hair out trying to understand how everything works. Really clean dial, though, I got to say. It's nice. Also, the red accents there. We have lots of Breitling lovers in the chat. So, yeah, it's awesome. It's really nice seeing this. I think we have a few more. Don't hold me to that. I don't know. I just save them and file them away. And this is the first time I'm seeing half of these too. Love the Loom. I think, oh, geez, there's more mentions of me in the chat. Sorry, guys, if I'm a bit delayed. Love the B seconds hand. Yeah, it's really nice as a counterbalance, of course. I don't know so much about having two Bs. It's almost like the El Primero, with a star at the top and then a star at the seconds hand. I do like how the Zenith differentiates itself with a hollowed out variant, where this is kind of a copy paste of what you see on the logo itself. So you have to ask yourself the question, do you prefer seeing two Bs, or would you rather have the Breitling logo a little bit changed up so that the B counterbalances there nicely? I love the anchor though. It ties it up very nicely. Just simple things like a cursive type here for automatic and that kind of stuff. It's good. It's nice focusing in on those details. Right, and I think we have them both together. Okay, so Bob's username is Chrono Mathematics. I don't know if it's Instagram or not. And here's the pairing together. We get to see them. I got to say, the one on the right, this Airborne is very clean. It's really nice. Okay, and next we're jumping to Bud the Stud, if you're still here with us. Let's see, watch and pray. Look forward to the day when I can travel again, meet you in London. Yeah, it would be so good. Watch and pray, of course. I mean, I hope we can do it, because the London team, they're such excellent people. Really nice people to hang with. Current range of Breitlings are brilliant. Cover unisex, market priced well. Decent discount. Yeah, of course, James. Yes. I mean, the latest releases, I think they're under a new CEO at the moment. So they're starting to break into new areas. They were the first to get rid of the big boxes for packaging, which I kind of like, because many of us don't really need big boxes in our cupboards or under our beds. So it's interesting. And they are, in a way, using their DNA, but simplifying and just doing other stuff like the bullet bracelets. They're starting to incorporate more vintage aesthetics. It seems like a very common thing that these big names are starting to go back. I mean, the Speedmaster was such a good example of that. Sert is saying that the Breitling Chrono 36 could very well be worn by a man. Yeah, I mean 36 mils gets so much flack, but oh God, honestly, if you can't wear it, if you think 36 is a woman's size, then don't know what to tell you. Your parents and grandparents were, you know, fighting across the world with 33 mil watches on their wrists. So I mean, it's a little bit of a breakup there, right? Slatsman, love my passion. It's not passion, it's alcohol and coffee that does it. Thank you though, Slatsman. Right, moving on. Bob, thank you for these. It's great seeing some Breitlings and just the simple chronomat. I don't think we've featured these before, ever. No, we have. We featured a couple, but not in this kind of pairing. Next up to Bud de Stud. Bud de Stud. New pickup. 2021 Navigator that he's driving, Lincoln Navigator. And he's rocking Royal Oak Jumbo. And I did say in brackets, right wrist. It's such a joy having someone wearing a watch on a right wrist. Gotta say, it's huge respect. I don't know if this is your standard wrist wearing area, but I gotta say, left-handers are rare and attractive, and it's nice to see a bit of alteration. Now, this watch today, I love the Jumbo 15202. If I got that reference wrong, sorry. If I had to make one improvement with this watch, I would want to have a running second. I know it goes against what this watch was about, but this is the original, the OG in the AP line. And I've said so many times, there's a love and hate affair with this watch and me. Some days I think it's abysmal. Other days, like today, the size is just superb. 39 mils, I think, right? Did I say that? I don't know. Marcello, welcome. Absolute pleasure having you here, Marcello. Let's see. What do you say? Just coming in to say hi. Long night of SolidWorks and Rhino ahead of you. I'm glad you use both. Rhino has always been my go-to when it comes to quickly pulling a concept together. If anyone's a CAD technician or a designer or someone who's interested in the field of 3D modeling, Rhino is so good when you're talking to a client and you just want to throw something quick together. Just get lots of samples out quickly. SolidWorks, on the other hand, is also superb. It's really down the line, simple to use. Can take a bit of practice though, and it's time consuming as hell when you're making individual parts. Marcello, my sympathies to you. My sympathies. Design Atelier, plus both someone who wears watches on both wrists. Design Atelier, welcome to the show. And many more of you, sorry, lefty checking over here, Neil, welcome. And wristwatch wearer as well. Are you also, James? Well, I'm a right wrist. Yeah, okay. I'm getting very confused looking at the comments. Awesome looking piece. I think there's so much complexity, but also just it's fascinating, man. It's such a fascinating watch to just break down. I know it's so over-talked and overhyped and all of those, but I mean, it's fascinating when you break down all the parts. You look at the simplicity of the batons, the hands, and how well they work together. And then you look at the complexity of that dial and the idea of applying the AP logo at the base. I think that's superb. It really counterbalances the text very nicely. And then just the congruence when you're looking at the crown, how it matches the screws on the bezel and how the bezel itself is finished and the bracelet is articulate, complicated. It's a piece of jewelry in the purest sense. And it's made of steel. There's so much to enjoy. I know that wrist, Mike says. Yeah, it's awesome. It is awesome. And Real says that Genta design's overrated. I agree. I mean, everything that's overhyped is overrated at the end of the day when you break it down. It's just fascinating what this watch did. You can look at it both ways. That's why I love it and hate it. You can see that now steel has become the luxury material, which is quite laughable when you think about it. People can charge whatever they want for steel watches. But at the same time, being able to beautify steel the way he did, fascinating. And funny enough, we're going to be seeing a 5711 a little bit later on. I think Dr. Bob, not very long from now. That's hilarious. And Bud also sent in a shot of, sorry about that, Magic Mouse, Royal Oak cufflinks represent. It's pretty funny. Yeah, you got to love it. You got to love the merchandise on top of the piece. Industrial luxury. Raymond, that is the best definition I've seen. Industrial luxury at its best. It's such an industrial looking watch. It does epitomize the 1970s, but it also has this modern retro transitional image to it as well. You know, it looks like something you would see on the set of Alien, but it looks like a watch you would see in the year 2050 and it would still look appropriate. I think that's the beauty of a timeless design. Tycho's saying blizzard right now in the Netherlands. God. And apparently it's coming across to Canterbury and where I'm based on the South Coast. I'm looking forward to it. And Shaitan says, no secondhand makes the 15202 feel like a sporty dress piece, which is meant, yeah, that's good points. Very good points. I mean, the idea with a dress watch is to be as refined as possible. Get rid of all the unnecessary, especially running seconds. Very good point. I don't know. I just love. I really do enjoy just appreciating a running seconds. Yes, I did, James. Years ago, I started with homage AP watches. I mean, when I got into this hobby, I started with the cheap stuff, just trying to get my point across about, trying to focus in on design while having something in my hand to talk about. And yeah, good times. It was like 3 years ago. I can't believe it. Time is fleeting. Awesome cufflinks, though, got to say. Bud, thank you for sending this in. It's always appreciated seeing a Royal Oak. And then we jump to something completely different, which is Cedar Canoe. Did see him in the chat a second ago. Seamaster 30 from 1963. Now, this is what I love about these shows. We're talking again about simplifying watch collecting. I would like to know your thoughts around this area and how you would attack your watch collection given the chance. When it comes down to focusing on a specific brand, or are you looking at a specific watch? Like, are you looking at dive watches focused only, or are you looking at something more dressy? Are you looking at these vintage pieces that you can pick up for great? I mean, these are like $500 ish that you can pick them up for. And for what you're getting, I mean, you're getting some history right there. Nice shot from Cedar Canoe. This looks almost like a tapisserie dial in a way. We featured so many, and I think this is not the only time you're going to be looking at Seamasters and Constellations during the show. But there's so much to take away from this line. I just find it funny how Omega used Seamaster on everything. Seamaster 30, as in 30 meters, right? It's hilarious. Like, I've never understood how they've used that identity all the way. At least when you look at their competition, Rolex, they keep it a bit simpler by focusing on the Oyster Perpetual and then having deviations around the Air King, the Milgauss line, etc., etc. The Seamaster is just like it was, should I say, used for everything through the 60s, 70s, not even as far back as the 50s. It's great. Love it. Okay. Cedar Canoe, thank you for sending this in. I'm going to focus in on the chats a bit more if I can. Let's see. Lunga's film, great movie. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but we're going to keep going. Cedar Canoe, I think I saw you a second ago. Great having you here. Awesome piece. I think we're going to see a few more of these later on. And Bud, AP represent. I love the email. I'm pretty sure it's acrylic glass. Yes, Samurai, I would imagine. From watch from 63. I think it's, from 1963. Okay, next is Chaz from the Berg. I see you in the chat. Love these vintage Omegas. I would love to dive into collecting these, but too risky. Not so much, Chaz. These watches, I mean, the movements are pretty flawless. Very simple, depending on whether you're looking at bumper cases or if you're looking at hand wounds. There's so much variety out there, and there's lots. I mean, most of these pieces are a watchmaker's dream because they are basic enough to be serviced easily, and very few parts when you look at it entirely. Moving to Chaz, as Chaz is in the chat now. What is okay? Cool. He gave me the specs. First Casio G-Shock. Now Eric Bell sent in such a funny selection of shots that we're going to look at in a moment. But this is a full blue camo titanium. You ready for this reference number? GMWB 5000 TCF /2 or -2. Fascinating, gotta say. I mean, I'm by no means someone who follows Casios and G-Shocks, but what they're doing now, it's pretty amazing how, I mean, they've gotten so popular in the last few years, don't you think? It's incredible. I mean, they've always been popular, but in the social space, this is a great example of a watch about simplifying watch collecting strategies. Pick up one of these for $100, $200, I think. I don't know how much they cost, but you get a watch here that is just, it's all purpose. It does it all. It has some very interesting quirks. I think this is based on the original G-Shock. Don't crucify me. I'm definitely not someone who knows much about these, but it's interesting how they're blending new colors. They're using different metals. They're going gold. They're going chrome, whatever floats the boat. But I also enjoy how the G-Shock line in general has this excellent, just risk-taking approach where they throw out all sorts of ideas. There's one gorgeous model that I love that's analog. I can't remember the reference off the top of my head, but they're awesome pieces, really are. Great for use, for work. I mean, let's be, dystopian visions are here, yeah. So, I mean, if the world had to end suddenly, this kind of watch would serve you very well. unless there was an EMP. Otherwise, yeah, it would be an excellent watch to use on a daily basis, especially if it's a solar. I don't know if it is solar powered. Is it? No, I don't know. No, I can't see solar, but you know what I mean. They're just practical, useful in any environment, cheap enough. Titanium, yes. I mean, they've played around with all sorts of materials. Titanium G-Shock. Oh, James, I kind of underpriced that one. It's actually $1,500. James, so these aren't cheap. For $200 for titanium is quite impressive. And Raymond's saying absolutely crazy about the Casio Oak. Want to pick one up in yellow. There's so many. And again, Instagram is the place. I think as far as resources go, you can learn a lot about this. It says tough solar, does it? Oh, geez. I can't see the. Sorry, guys. I see tough solar there. Got it. Thank you. I mean, it's complex. It's a complex dial. Okay, next, Chaz, to a Hanhart. These watches are this is called the Pioneer 1, which I think is an excellent description for this watch, actually, on a D model. Oh, geez, what am I going to say here? Chronissimo leather strap. Thank you for the details, Chaz. I don't often get all the specs sent to me, and this really does help me a lot. A lot of the time I just get sent images and I have to find the names and come up with it myself. So Hanhart as a brand, I mean, they are the most important when it comes to chronographs. They are the most important watches out there for the Type 20 category. I mean, German design influence in the fullest. I would say to anyone out there who's considering a Flieger watch, you know, the typical Stovers, the IWCs, get one of these. Hanhart as a brand has so much heritage to it that all the other companies basically just copied and pasted and put on their models. The Breguet Type 20s, the Longines, Big Eye, all those models pretty much got the inspiration from Hanhart as a brand. So that will be in the Watches of the French Armed Forces video that's on the chopping block. It's still being worked at the moment. There's so many watches that the French used. It's ridiculous. Once you've finished with your chronographs, which is a whole section by itself, then it's to dive watches. You've got Tudor Snowflake, you've got Blancpain, you've got, endless. I've got a whole list of things still to tap. Yeah, Julian mentioning Hanhart 417. Exactly. So, BDev, I'm going to get your question now. And last from Chaz is a Seiko King Turtle SRP E39. As a devoted Seiko owner, I will still never understand the references or keep up with them, but it's worth trying. This is awesome, though. You see the Manta Rays on the dial. God, that is cool. So part of the ocean, another ocean incentive. I don't know. But these turtle cases are a dream. It's so interesting seeing how their designs have evolved over time. I mean, my most recent video was about the SPB 143. The only reason why I know that reference is because it rhymes. So let's see. We got spiral bezel. Yes, very World War II, US Air Force. Good point. A11, Roar of the Tiger. And I just love, I'm going to go back to it quickly. I just love the bit of nail varnish that they put on the top here just to get that. Oh, it's so funny. It's like the most impractical thing, but it's part of that heritage, you know. Also love the congruence between the bezel and the crown. Really clean. Stepping to the dial, I'm going to be here for ages. True German aesthetic, but also does adopt many American motifs. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Bobby Legs is joining us. Welcome, and many more of you here that I can't keep track of. This is nuts. This is nuts. William Rizzo, haven't said hi to you. Welcome. And that's saying, love my videos. Thank you. Wanted to know your thoughts on I can never get that name right. Zapek. We've featured a few, and I can't. For the life of me, I won't be able to remember a reference off the top of my head. I know the design of a boutique model that came out. They are stunning. I mean, it's like Habring, you know, these brands that are out of the blue. I think it was brought back recently as a brand, if I'm not mistaken. A new CEO came in and they've revived the company, and they have about 3 boutiques in the world. They're doing so well. And if you want to get your best reference on Zapek Watches TV, I think, does the best coverage of them. But again, they're outliers in this space, you know. Awesome piece, gotta say it. I mentioned earlier that I picked up a Marine Master clasp that came across from North Carolina. Can you believe? And do that. If you want to get the best clasp for your Seiko diver, Marine Master, try and find one. I think I got it for about $100. Well worth it. I mean, it's exceptional. I'll be sure to review the watch in a month's time and get through those details. But yeah, it's awesome. Yes, there are stingrays. Sanford asking. They're manta rays, ain't stingrays. Can tell they're manta rays by their mandibles in the front there. I dated a zoologist a marine biologist, sorry. So I learned a lot about sea life. It's great. It's great. Right, carrying on. Next to Chris. Now, Chris, we know Chris from RAF Chris. Don't know if he's here watching us, but he has sent some amazing stuff in the past. So let's first feature the watch itself. Standard ceramic Seamaster professional. This being, we could call the transitional reference in the zone. And these you can get for such great money today. Would recommend anyone out there, if you're starting this hobby. I mean, we've got a few first-time luxury watch buyers featured in this show. Got to say congratulations to all of them when we get there. But if you want to get yourself into this hobby and start well, start strong, look at these pieces, because you can get them for excellent, especially when the attention is on the newer stuff. Good stuff to look at. So was she a mermaid? Yeah, she was quite big she was quite big when it came to the sea, James. I'll admit, yes. Good guess, by the way. At the 3 o'clock, nice. This is a very good use of a date comp. You're right, date window with a little bit of lume on the side there. Nice balance. It's also good to see that the window is framed. It just adds a little bit more complexity there. God, that's funny, James. Yeah, that's pretty hilarious. Brings back memories. Okay. I really struggle with the bracelet on these, James. Yeah, I mean, the issue with this model is that it's kind of still very 90s in the way it works. We are going to see in a moment, actually, I'll stick on this for a second, but in a moment we'll be looking at the modern one. The roundedness of this bracelet made it look like the 90s Brosnan Bond era, which I think they have modernized and improved with the latest gen. I guess another issue is that these bracelets don't taper. One thing I love about my 57 is that it's 19 mils and it doesn't taper, and it's superb. It's such a good balance. I'm sure that could be a video in itself. Funny, 1 year anniversary with my Seamaster is coming up very soon. That's crazy. I picked it up in March last year. So I'll be sure to focus in on that stuff, like a bit more of the wearing and the aesthetics there. And yes, James, they are. And Hans saying, congrats on the Commando. That's a pleasure. Thank you, Hans. It has been a great time, and who knows where it's going to go. But if it is successful, then many more opportunities to just keep expanding and come up with new ideas. I am one of the first watchers of the channel, Seamaster 300 Pro, Serta. Awesome piece. Now, this is what I love. So Chris has been in the RAF for a very long time, and we can tell this because he sent in his medal box. And this is one of his pride and joys. Now, I went to the efforts because I do love military history. I do have family members who have served their time in different forces in their lives. I looked, the beautiful thing about the database when it comes to UK medals is that it's just one click and you can find everything you need to know about these medals. So from left to right, we have the Iraq medal, we have the Afghanistan medal, and the far right, we have the 60th Diamond Jubilee from 2012 medal. And then also crown insignia, RAF belt buckle on the side. So this is really good. This man has served in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Brave boy. That's all I can say. Brave boy. Golf 2, Eric Bell says. Eric is a naval master. He knows the sea like the back of his hand. Yeah, awesome. Really love. It's so nice seeing this. A little bit more depth to someone who's into this hobby. It's good to know their backgrounds a bit more. And, you know, when it's just visual beauty when you get to see these kinds of things. It increases the viewership and the value when it comes to these shows. Yeah, so thank you, Chris, for sending these in. It's really awesome. And by all means, keep sending in your watches, keep sending in whatever you like. I think we featured a couple, I think we featured a Seiko of yours in the past. And again, I haven't even mentioned before in the beginning of the show, I hope you're all doing well and looking after yourselves, and with all that's going on in the world, especially if in the Northern Hemisphere. It's bloody freezing. Right, gonna motor on. Got to keep on going here. Next up to Damien. Oh, this is a win. How is this? Now, I think Damien mentioned in the email that he's basically said, I don't know if you've heard of this watch before, but it's a Chopard Mille Miglia. We've never featured one of these before, but I've been looking at one of these when it comes to picking up a new watch. Oh, this is good. Okay, I'm going to try and hold the magic mouse to appreciate this. The Mille Miglia is an awesome watch. It's one of the coolest chronographs, I think, under the Chopard line especially. It's a boss. It's great. So what do we have here? Fascinating when we look at the subdials. Is this a Daytona homage? No. So the Miglia is a 1,000. Oh God, am I going to get this right? See, I'm new to Europe, so I should know this kind of sort of. But it's a 1,000-kilometer race across the Italian countryside. I think they go through France. Don't crucify me. I'm not that good with my history and my knowledge. But it's an endurance race. You know, you take whatever car you like, you soup it up. They have different classes for different stages, and you just have a absolute. It's a rally. It's basically an endurance rally. And this watch, you know, if I try and get in on the dial, that is a very simple insignia, should I say, symbolizing the event. It's an awesome looking watch. I mean, clarity. This is such a good example of a chronograph when it comes to being a functional instrument for its purpose. I'll get to the strap in a moment. Jean-Claude, I thought you would appreciate this. It is a very nice chrono. Look at the legibility. Look at how the dial breaks up. Look at the numerals there. Makes it a bit more formal. I love how the numerals actually rotate themselves around the dial, a bit more legible. I mean, simple things like minutes is actually mentioned on the left-hand side and hours at the base. Functional instrument, but also has this formality, this dressness to it too. And then if we go look at the strap, I mean, it's a little bit on the nose, got to say, but we have tire tread as your rubber strap. I kind of like it. It's kind of kitsch, but at the same time, it's cool. It does tie in so nicely with what this watch represents as this crazy machine. Yeah, it's awesome. It really is nice. Got to say, first time featuring one of these, and these shows, the chaptering is, it's gorgeous. It really, everything has been, and the typeface, just look at that. Chopard. Another brand you should look into. Their watches on the gray market, very good value for money. So have a look. Chrono 24, have a browse. Damien, thanks for sending this in, and I've mitched hundreds of you guys in the chat. So yeah, I see James mentioning 70% off. Yes, James, that was a Miglia 1,000 miles. I thought it was kilometers. BDF, thank you. So it's 1,000 miles through Italy. It's amazing. I mean, that you can watch whole YouTube channels that base themselves around Miglia, and awesome cars. I mean, talk about classics and modern stuff, and it's a joy. Tire tread is standard strap on all Chopard watches. Is it really? This is news to me, James. Really is. Mille Miglia. Oh, thank you. The G is silent, Dylan. Sorry, guys. I'm so uncultured. I'm very uncultured. Right. Moving on to Dan the Watchman. Where is he? I think I saw him a second ago. We're going to start with, let's see. This is a good shot. We actually featured, I don't know if we featured this last week or not. Maybe we did. But it's always nice to see a Le Coutre before they became JLC. This being a model from, I would imagine, the 1950s-ish. It's a 40-hour power reserve made for the American market. I don't remember why. A lot of the time I get essays sent to me, and I do struggle with keeping up when I'm saving them at 2 a.m. But, you know, it's an awesome looking piece. I do love how the power reserve is incorporated there. Having it as a separate window is quite nice. It shows... it kind of breaks away from the aesthetic of the watch, because it's something that the watch like this, of this age, should have a dial to represent it. You know, having a window makes it look a lot more modern. So there's a bit of a clash there. But I do enjoy the typical. I mean, there's a few of us in the chat. I know Mark P is one of them, who's eyeing the Vacheron. What is it called? It'll come to me. The 56, the Vacheron 56. Taking another hit. The Vacheron 56 uses a similar format, and they're probably the most popular in the zone. Yeah, it's awesome. Gotta appreciate it. And we do have a shot on the wrist that we can enjoy too. There was mention about this watch being gold-plated. I really do not know. Speaking of which, one set of submissions we haven't received this week is from Juan. I hope he's well, because I don't think Juan has ever missed a show before. I hope he's doing okay. I think I need to send him an email. But we do get a few other vintage pieces to enjoy here. Juan generally jumps all over the place with his watches, and it's always a joy seeing the variety there. Was now discounted, Mark. Oh, hold on. I caught the back end of that point, talking about the Vacheron 56. And Hot asking, where do I send pictures? In the description of this video, the show more section, you click that. My email is actually in the second line. Send it to my email. And yeah, by all means, send whatever you like, and it'll be featured in the next 2 weeks when we have a show. Right, carrying on. Dan the Watchman, thank you for this. I don't know if you're still watching, but or if you were here earlier. I see Neferion joining us, and so many more of you. I can't keep track of the chat ever. Right, Derek. Oh, cool. We were just talking about the Seamaster Professional. Now we have the modern model, black dial, black bezel. See what I mean about the roundness of the bracelet? Just this small adjustment changes quite a lot about this watch. And for the better, I think. I think it really does clean it up for the better, for what it is. Let's have a look at the chat. I'm missing you here. I see Eric saying from a broken heart. I caught the back there. Juan here, Juan there. Maybe he'll join in later. He generally does. Laser cut dial. Very good point, Samurai. I mean, what was I comparing this to the other week? I'm trying to remember. When it came to a re-release, almost like when you compare the Speedmaster release to this now, I know I always harp on about the Speedmaster, but Speedmaster release looked at very vintage aesthetics and focused on those areas. But it's incredible how this watch, when it was launched, I think in 2017, they just reworked the entire thing. Laser engraved ceramic dial. They completely new movement, as Raymond mentioning. 8800 Master met us. Yeah, it's stunning. I mean, I have the 8806, which is the no date version of it, and it's within 2 seconds a day. It's insanely good, and that's after a year of wearing it everywhere, basically. So many features they addressed. You know, they upped the size a little bit. They put the date at the 6. I think it's, I mean, just simple things like the way they've incorporated the chapter ring around the dial. Many factors. It's not for everyone's taste, I should say, but as far as a watch to get you going into this hobby, this is such a good start, because it's just a usable everyday wearing watch. You can smash around, don't have to worry about it. It's a set and forget, you know. Love it. And such a cool shot as well. We don't normally see these off angle pieces. Right, gonna carry on here. There's lots of still can't love this watch. The bracelet lets it down. Good point, James. I mean, that is one of the divisive elements. So this, you know, it's funny when you're looking at the complexity of a dial next to the complexity of a bracelet, there is a fine line that you have to ride, I think. When you have a simple dial, when we think of something like the Royal Oak that we looked at earlier, it gives you a good incentive to add more complexity to your bracelets. But then when you have a complex dial, and I would call this pretty complex, there's some amazing aftermarket bracelets that people put on these that are much simpler. Kind of just a Planet Ocean bracelet, for example, you know, 3-link construction. Forstner bands have some amazing things too. Have a look on Instagram if you follow that. God, yeah, I just verbal diarrhea. Okay, I've got to move on. Derek, thank you for sending this in. It is always a joy seeing one of these. We're going to have a look at a loom shot of one of these in a moment, which is going to be good. I see readers joining us. I will get to your comment in a moment. Jean-Claude mentioning, I know, Jean-Claude, you sold yours. You sold your model because of the bracelet you didn't enjoy. And it was to do with like the sharpness of the edges, I think. Yeah, many points of contention with the bracelet, I think. As you know, for the rest of time, this bracelet will always be questioned. I do like how they made this a female end link. It does form better to the wrist and everything else. I still want, I mean, if I could directly speak to Ronald, CEO of Omega, I would say bring out a 38mm variant of this watch, something a tiny bit smaller. I've made a video about it, I think. Why should they bring out a small, I don't know, I can't remember the video, but yeah, good piece, good way to start in the hobby. Moving on to, and speaking of starting in the hobby, we're jumping to David. Thanks for this, Derek. Now, David sends this in. I can't remember David's age. He might have mentioned it, but he did say that this is his first luxury watch. I think he picked it up last year. Again, I didn't save the full email, but as far as a first, I was speaking about the Tudor earlier on, the Tudor GMT. As far as a watch that gets you into the hobby, that gets you started, how cool is this? 36mm, basic, simple, everyday wearer. Has many traits that is true to Tudor's name. I'll focus on this in a moment. There's one aspect that I find a bit peculiar. Sorry, everyone in the chat. Let me try and get back. I know I keep apologizing, but it's, you know, when you can't see me, it's difficult to know what I'm looking at. Good evening. See from Reed. Can't stay long. I just want to say hi to everyone. Yeah, pleasure having you here, Reed. Enjoy the show for as long as you want. And Andrea says, what I don't like about the ceramic dials, bezels like this, is that it won't age. Won't look vintage. Patina won't be there. Yeah, it's true. We don't exactly know, though. I mean, the finish on the ceramic could easily go matte one day. Who knows how long? I mean, that polished element might eventually go matte. I don't know. It's very difficult to tell what ultraviolet does to anything, really. For all the guarantees they give you about the longevity of your watch, it's hard to tell. In the next 50 years, you might be quite surprised at what happens to these pieces. Okay. 38 with a non-date Seamaster. I mean, there's so many options. I see Air is joining us. Smiling, self-winding. Yes, great. So one thing that I found a bit peculiar, as far as I know, the self-windings mean that when they're smiling, it means it uses an ETA-based caliber. But doesn't that also mean that this should be a rose and not a shield? Help me out here. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. And mention from Chad saying, love the Tudor with the rose. I mean, I miss the rose. The rose on the dial just does it. It's so much. I love that part of the identity. I mean, the Tudor rose. Think about, if you know your history, the whole House of Lancaster, House of help me out. That was bad. I led myself into that. But the whole idea of bonding these two families together with a white and red rose and having this whole identity around it, I love it. I think it's so great. Something about it is missed with the shield. I know the shield's been used on a lot of their high-end sports watches, like the original ETA snowflakes and everything there. But the rose is just that little bit of complexity to a dial and adds some character to it. Rose or shield on the crown. Samurai, I would say rose on the crown too, because the rose is symmetrical. And what you can do is you never have to worry about the crown being screwed in and the shield being upside down. You know what I mean? It's a 5-pointed rose, I think. Yeah. Someone might need to help me with the history there. This watch is very underrated. Just picked up a Black Bay Heritage Rose Burgundy. Yeah. I mean, and another thing, and we were speaking about how the attention is into certain areas like the 58s, the 41s, the GMTs, those models. This one, I believe it's a 36. It is. The 41 mil variant of this, another example, under the radar. The attention is not on them. Now is the time to simplify your watch collecting strategy. Talk about a segue into the title of the video and have a look at those. It's ETA, rose is on the crown. Okay, Tycho, thank you for that. So the rose is actually on the crown, shield on the dial. Interesting. Okay, moving on to Dear Artifact. So Dear Artifact made the cover, and I thought this would be a nice added feature to have as separate sections. So this is, I'll try and get this right, a Carhartt Detroit jacket from Interstellar. So I think this was the jacket that Matthew McConaughey was wearing. Awesome. I mean, when it comes to looking at jackets in general, what you do is you focus in on those fibers, boys and girls, and the fibers look very good. I mean, this is one thing I've really started. I mean, my favorite are Barracuda jackets. I'm sure if you've watched any review video of mine, you'll see a Barracuda jacket in there somewhere. And it's all about the weave. You've got to appreciate the weave on jackets. And yeah, awesome. Another shot of the Forstner JB Champion on the professional Hesselite, this being the first gen, the 1861 caliber. Samurai saying, does my Seiko... No, it doesn't have an S on the crown, Samurai. My SPB 143 does not have an S. It's a sterile crown. I don't know why they did that. Okay, which G-Shock can you recommend? Moritz, don't ask me that question. Ask the chat, please, by all means, because they know much more, 10 times, 50 times more about Casios and G-Shocks in general. Mark's chatting about the watch fund. Yeah, Mark. Sorry, Mark, I haven't said hi to you in the chat, I don't think, but it's always a pleasure having you here. On a mesh band, yeah. Samurai, if you have Instagram, you do have Instagram, check out Forstner, I'm trying to get it right, F-O-R-S, Forstner bands. I think that's how you pronounce it or you spell it. Would recommend. They've come out with some amazing stuff. They now just introduced a stretched rivet bracelet, which is incredible. Dear Artifacts just joined us. Well, good to have you here. You were featured in the beginning, and you know your shot had to be featured because your shots are the best. I don't know how you do it every single time. 25 megabyte images at it. That's one element that I think adds to the equation. Awesome though, and everyone's mentioning how they love your jacket. I see Han saying, "Yeah, Carhartt are built to last. I've had one for 25 years, still good." Julian says. I mean, that's it. Hey? That's the one thing about buying anything of quality is that you know it's going to last through thick and thin. Even if you do abuse it completely, it's amazing how not just clothes, but anything of quality. It's amazing. Right, carrying on. Demetrius, where are you? I think I saw you in the chat a second ago. Let's hit the Tudor Black Bay. We were just speaking about crowns, and just look at the background. From Greece. Right. This is an excellently done model. I really miss, I mean, the 58s are good. They really are good. Don't get me wrong. The sizes, I think they've absolutely nailed. It's so nice seeing that they've scaled the pieces down, but this arrangement on the dial is where it's at. Demetrius is joining. Welcome. You had a very good eye for this piece, I think. I mean, it has everything you want on a Tudor dial. It's actually a pity that they don't use this exact format here. So we have Tudor rose. Awesome. Smiling, self-winding. It just feels so much more intact. You know, it feels a lot more true to its identity. Tudor is they're trying to go too far, modernizing themselves, I think, when you look at their new approach of simplifying everything down. Now, of course, the smiling, self-winding is divisive. I guess that's why they threw it away, because it's something that just doesn't, tick everyone's box. But I think it's just a part of its character trait. Like the rose, it just deserves to be there. Yeah. Hitting the whiskey again. I'll be with you in a moment. Right. Yeah, I see the rose. Yeah, it's awesome, Chaz. It really is. I need to get closer in. Let's get right in there and have a look. I mean, how cool is that? It's the way it should be, I believe. It's a pity when brands do go against their, not so much against their identity, but changes their identity just to appease the masses or appeal to the masses, Miss from a rose. You mean kiss from a rose? Oh, okay, I understand what you're doing there, watching the World Finance. And chronographs, good to have you here. I'm going to get your watches eventually. We will get there. Yeah, it's awesome. Such a stunning watch. I love the colors too. Very, very dark navy. And there's another shot, I think, in the car. I mean, Demetrius deliberately sends these shots in just to irritate all of us this side of the world. That's so cool. We got a seatbelt NATO, and we can just appreciate it again. Yeah. Question: would you go for one of these, or would you go for the new Black Bay navy blue? That's a interesting point. Yeah, but I mean, you can get these for such good value for money out there today. Still, they're still very easy to find and available. So would recommend to anyone out there starting. Right, catching up. Whiskey check, Tycho. I had at the beginning of the show, it's a Glenmorangie original 10. I won't scroll all the way up, but it's the original, the standard. It's a great drink, gotta say. It's a good drop. Tudor rose is just more elegant. Yeah, it is. I mean, it just adds so much more character to the watch. Most of us would agree, but I mean, we must remember that we are the enthusiasts, where the other 90% of the world are pretty new to this space. So they see a watch that they like, they don't necessarily understand what it means. Again, the pedanticness of the watch enthusiast is deep, goes deep. Right. Andreas, same with new Tissot versus old. I haven't seen what they've done. The Tissot logo has changed from like a T to I can't remember. I do know what the T looks like, though. I do recognize it. Santorini, it might be Hans. I don't know. Is he driving into the sea? Nefarian says, maybe. I mean, I don't know how waterproof cars are over there in Greece, but yeah, what a place. I'd love to visit Greece soon. Oops, come back. So we've just been chatting about Black Bays. We featured a AP Royal Oak earlier on, and there was mention that the Genta designs are very overrated. Well, now we can enjoy something else. Dr. Bob, if you're in the chat, I'm interested in knowing if anyone knows their guitars, what this guitar is. I immediately picked it up when I saw it. I mean, if you know your guitars, it's pretty easy to focus on. 5711 Steel Nautilus, now discontinued. What a shame. And people were losing their minds. It's hilarious. Okay. James saying neither. What did I say, James? I don't know. I'm losing the plot. Now I need a Seiko cocktail time to drink cocktails on stream. I'm not a fan of cocktails, Samurai, honestly. Me and sugar in general, I'm a bit strict when it comes to drinking anything that's too sweet. My preference when it comes to alcohol is always, whiskey, possibly a Negroni, bit of gin, or a beer. That's pretty much as far as I go. Vodka, I can't deal. There's lots of things. But anyway, let's see. Mine goes to 5711. Then hold on a sec. The chat's just going mad. Dress watches and Tissot Powermatic Silicone Samurai. Oh, okay, let me see. PRS. Okay, mentioning PRS. So this is a Paul Reed Smith P22 is the name with I can never get this right. Piezo pickups. God, PRS guitars are so popular. Let's get another close shot in. I love how they do the finishing on them, and yeah, would recommend when it comes to picking up guitars. PRS P22, Dr. Bob. Yep. So this is a cool, I mean, this shot was so close to being on the cover. I know it's kind of cliche, kind of eye-rolling to feature a Nautilus for a cover photo, but I mean, look at it. And what I love, I think most have probably been able to recognize, is how there is this relationship when you look at the dial and when you look at the striations on the wood. I love it. I think it's fascinating. But yeah, the 55, was it the 5711 has been lost. Speaking of which, Russell sent in the king of Nautili that we'll have a look at later. But this watch has been discontinued, and the speculation is that they're going to bring one out in titanium. All sorts of ridiculous things in white gold. Who knows? I don't know if they're going to adjust the sizes. They're going to manipulate a few things, but yeah, that was out of the blue. They just decided to pull the 5711. There are a couple of areas of this watch that need a lot more attention. I mean, geez, James will probably agree with me that the bracelets on these models, and also I'm sure Dr. Bob would too, the bracelets and the clasps on this model in particular, need some work. The clasp especially, God, it's so archaic. The ladies' Nautiluses have better clasps than these, and just more functional. I think they have micro adjustments. They go into the bracelet itself. They don't ride on the wrist. They actually, like the Octo Finissimo, they fold into the bracelet. Small little touches like that, I'm sure they'll be improving with the next gen. Nautilus looks like a waffle iron. So funny. Yeah, the horizontal slats, love it or hate it. Nat asking me, have I tried the Urban 14 or other variations? No, haven't. I am so new to the whiskey drinking. I've mentioned this before that, coming out of the southern hemisphere, it was all wine. Coming to the northern hemisphere, I said, I got to try whiskey. You come to the land of whiskey, you can appreciate Scotch for a pretty good price. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doubling down. So I'm trying all of them, all the glens of everything. So we can enjoy the movement. I can never get this reference right. I'm not even going to try. But it's your standard time and date variant. Yeah, James, it's a funny thing how the bracelets they need a bit more love. Do they use push pins? Hey, they use pin and collar. They don't even use screws, as far as I know. I guess it helps with the weight, and there's a good debate about whether pin and collar is. I'm peeing into the microphone. I'm probably spiking it. Sorry. There's debate about whether pin and collar is better than screws. Yeah, if you have a good nylock of some kind that keeps the screws retained, then that argument kind of goes out the window. You don't have to worry about it. But I got to say, it is nice knowing that there's a bit more assurance with a pin and collar system. 324, is that the reference? Thank you, Julian. Yeah, try Crown Royal whiskey. I've got it. There are so many. You can't even start with recommendations because I'd be at it all day. Glenn Close. That is the funniest. So Buckheim says, have you tried the Scotch marketed to women? Glenn Close. That's the best. Buck, that's probably one of the best comments I've seen so far. Geneva Seal. This is a Patek seal, I think, watching World Finance. Patek seal. So this is after the early 2000s. It's a pity. I do appreciate Geneva seals. It's pretty impressive. I just love how they engrave the Calatrava cross onto there. There's lots of things to appreciate with these watches. But when it comes to choosing between an AP and a Royal Oak, yeah, I would be jumping on the Royal Oak personally. But then this does have a lot more style to it. It's the Royal Oak is the prototype in many ways. It's the one that got the ball rolling, and then like 5 years later, this came around, and it's a much more, you could say, refined variant of the Royal Oak, and so it goes. Has Russell joined us? Is he in the chat? Welcome, Russell. Good to have you here, sir. We're going to see your Nautilus later on. It's great having you here, and stick around. The 200 plus of you who are watching, Russell sent in some beautiful Cloisonne dial Pateks that he passed on in the past. Did I say that right? The alcohol is definitely working. So Cloisonne, beautiful finishes. We're going to enjoy that. There's not too many watches. There's only about, 60 or so submissions to continue with. Right, moving on. Beautiful shot of this watch, Dr. Bob. Congratulations to get your hands on one of these, or for getting your hands on one of these now that they've been discontinued. Moving on next to Dylan, or we know as 121 click bezel. Speaking of discontinued, we featured the Wimbledon date just earlier on, and here is another example of a watch that is most definitely on the chopping block in this zone. And as most of us know, the outliers in the Rolex brand are the ones that tend to go up in value when it comes to them being discontinued. And this is like the best example of an outlier. It really doesn't line. It's same with the Milgauss, actually. Should I say like the Z Blue Milgauss specifically? It's just one that doesn't line up with their identity today. What a gorgeous shot. I really do appreciate slow exposure, and you get to appreciate the seconds hand there. So the Air King is it's a really prominent watch and deserves so much more love out there, because it was given to RAF pilots, and this capitalizes on the whole Flieger aesthetic of having, the numerals arranged that way. Of course, my biggest gripe, most of you probably know, double digits, and you have nothing here. The rest of the dials, all double digits, but we have this huge blank space. Could say blank pan on the side here, which is a little bit off-putting to the eye. If you can stomach it, though, cool looking watch. And it's very much like this cross amalgamation of so many things. It's got the Explorer 39 dial as they were transitioning to the next gen with the fully loomed arrangement. And then you have, this is the only model that has painted green and yellow on it. And it's just quirky as all hell. No loom on the dial other than the triangle at the 12. It's so funny. Right. Let's see what else is going on in so many fives. Oh, right. Sam Ray, yeah, there are so many fives on this dial. You're right, for sure. God, sorry, guys. There's so many. Again, please tag me in the chat if you want to ask some questions, because I'm seeing mentioning about Blue Label from Johnny Walker. I need to try one of those. I've never tried a Blue Label. Question from Stuart Wallace about 6 Isles. Surprisingly good. Whiskey recommendations. Where do we start? Okay, so taking another hit from the coffee, and we're going to jump across to the next watch that Dylan sent in, which is the Seamaster Professional. And he mentioned something about his collecting strategy. Let me try and catch that for a sec. My strategy is off the beaten path, not by design, just the ones that speak to me. And you do have interesting taste. You are a pilot. I think you're an instructor, if I remember right, a flight instructor. So these all do have a similar kind of theme to them in many ways. I do really appreciate a loom shot, as most of us probably do. Love the blend. Right, hitting the coffee. I think this is my 3rd cup within 2 hours. I'll tell you what, the last hour before the show starts, it's just gung-ho. 3 coffees in, like half a whiskey down, paracetamols in, eye drops in, getting the show lined up. It's hilarious. I'm like a clown, like a headless clown getting these shows prepared in the beginning. So let's see. C. James mentioned something. As a collector, you have to have an Air King in your collection. I think so. I do agree. It's one example of a watch that I think is going to, just the Air King in general. There's so many of them and such good inspirations. Love to try and hybridize some of those vintage elements in future Smiths releases. I don't know. BDev, here's a thought. You might consider doing videos on bracelets. I tried that once, I did a video on the Oyster bracelets and how it evolved. And I actually want to get onto that point. Very good point. Tiger's saying, weird question, but is a pocket watch also allowed? Yes, it is, for sure. We featured pocket watches that are like well over 300 years old before, from great-great-grandfathers. It's amazing. Yes, by all means, send them in. Sam Ray loved my video on the Air King. The old videos, really, they make me cringe because I didn't know what I was doing when it came to recording things. Right, so awesome looking dial. You can appreciate the dial a lot more here. This is probably the most contentious in the Seamaster line, the silver tone. My first impression when I saw this was it's almost as if they found the unfinished dial before it was painted and said, hey, this looks cool, let's put that in. I don't know what the thinking was with this. In a way, it blends nicely with the bracelet itself. Interesting tastes, though. I think Dylan, we can all agree, has an interesting taste when it comes to these pieces. I want to ask about this, though. Is that the enamel paint being worn off, or is that dirt inside the bezel? Is it enamel? I don't know. Am I just speaking? Is it actually enamel paint? Help me out there. But it looks like it's been worn away, or else it's just grime. These are work watches. So, question about bracelets. Let's see if I can focus in on a watch and discuss it for a second. No, I can't really. I'll move to the next submission. And yeah, Glendronach, yes, that's awesome, Stuart. Still recommendations of whiskies. The mixture is working well so far. Okay, so thank you for these, Dylan. I love these shots. Super high res. It's always appreciated. He has an Instagram handle, by the way. 121 click bezel. Let's see if I can get this right. Boom. If you're on Instagram, follow him. Moving on to Ed with good old-fashioned SKX 009 with a dumbbell in the hand, I see. That's cool. And I see KG there, so no knowing what it could be. But we do love ourselves good dumbbells. It's always great. It's amazing. I mean, I've gotten into calisthenics over the last, I'd say, 4 months. Hell, it's labor intensive. Really rewarding though. I mean, the problem when you're when you're using weights, it's so nice to just incrementally go up and not have to worry about them so much. When it comes to calisthenics, from step 1 to step 2 can take months of just trying to understand your body weight and your shoulders and how they take the strain. So very different training. But the huge bonus I found from calisthenics over lifting weights, I mean, geez, benching, what was my max? I would bench like 100 and I think 120 was my max for bench, and dumbbells was 45 kilos. Pounds, I don't know about pounds, but the downside is your joints do get hammered, your shoulders, your elbows, at least for me. With calisthenics, I'm never really stiff the next day when it comes to stiff. I'm never, the joints are never fatigued from it. So yeah, carrying on. Sorry about that, a little bit of a blend there. Right, so the SKX 009, I mean, it's a gem, very easy watch to get you going in this hobby. It's a go-to. And this was a part of the subject of the SPB video that came out last week, focusing in on how the aesthetics of these watches don't always speak to us, and where I think the SPB has done some very good things at making it a much more easy to grab watch, easy to see, easy to pick up. So the question about bracelets, the funniest thing when we were talking about the El Primero release was the 3-link bracelet. There was lots of comments about that. Look up the history of Gay Frere bracelets. You'll be surprised as to where it all originated from. Brands don't have ownership over bracelets, I don't believe. A few do. I'd say AP pretty well. But the 3-link construction, oyster bracelet, that whole aesthetic, Gay Frere, they're responsible for all of that stuff. Right. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. All right, the power of the ballot. I salute you from Massachusetts. Cannabis vape pen. Thank you, Roar of the Tiger. The power of the ballot. What did I say there? I don't know. I'm trying my utmost. Foreman saying, do Pepsi designs try too hard to be liked? Foreman, that's a very good question. Do they try too hard to be liked? They're very much a love it and hate it. They're nowhere near as accepted as a standard color. They're always going to be something that rides the line. And I mean, sometimes they have good functionality to them. I think the GMT Pepsi is a great example of a watch that uses color that does it well. But personally, the Batman, I think, does it even better because it signifies day and night sky on the bezel. Of course, the red and blue was to do with the Pan Am relationship. Here, though, we see something that's quite effective where the 20 minutes is covered with red, and generally your gas tanks last for 20 minutes in the water. Eric, please help me with that if I'm speaking complete bull or if that's the truth. As far as I know, your gas tank generally lasts that long, your breathing apparatus. So being able to time a 20-minute dive is pretty practical, and using the red, it's a very easy way to catch your eye on it. So in this example, it's a very good use of the color, I believe. But of course, they can make it a bit simpler where instead of making this whole element red, they just highlight these plots in red instead. So that the numbers and the plots themselves could be red. The bezel could stay navy blue. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about there. Speaking of which, Eric Bell, I don't know if you're here with us, but the next, I love this. Ed, thank you for this. We haven't seen a SKX 009 in a long, long time. Okay. Just BS. Julian, thank you. Oh, here we go. Eric says 20 minutes is half a tank on an AL80. So halfway mark. Fantastic. Okay. That was a pretty good guess. Not really. Thank you for that, Eric. But you're up next, and I love this. So this email, Eric does send the quirkiest stuff in sometimes, and this is the best. He basically says how to make your watch go from water resistant to waterproof for $10. Now, Eric, you've been featured many times and spoken about. You are the Seamaster. Spend more of your life in the sea than on land, so it's going to be good. Let's talk about this. So, silicone oil. Take the back off your Casio. Step 2, pour the oil in. Step 3, you now have a oil-filled watch, basically a Zin UX. And now you've moved the watch from being water resistant to 50 meters to something that is like fully waterproof, because it's now like literally a seal inside there. And I love it. I think it's just fast. Also mentioned that it increases legibility. I mean, that's a very good point. Off-axis viewing is going to be better. I love it. I think it's just hilarious. This is one of the best. I mean, talk about homemade DIYing. This is the best. A $10, and you can make your watch fully waterproof. And Eric swims with all of these. I mean, he uses divers, but also uses these kinds of pieces underwater. Interested in knowing the kinds of depth that you think this would go to. And we've spoken about oil-filled watches and how cool they are with quartz and everything else. So this is great. I love the idea that it not only increases legibility, but also its usability in the water at greater depths. Yeah, it's good. It's good. That's neat, as Hans says. Yeah, Eric is a hell of a smart man, gotta say. We banter a lot through emails. And John, thank you for the super chat. He said, my wife decided I needed to join her. Thank you for being here, John. I do your watches. Oh man, John, I wanted to feature. Stay here. I'm going to feature you right now. We're going right to John before he goes. Stay here, John. Don't go. John, a couple of weeks ago, asked all of us on this page about what you should be looking for in the GMT category. Something like not Rolex, not Tudor, I think. And we just threw thousands of suggestions to him. And he picked up a UTC 856. We were just talking about Zin. This works out perfectly. And he loves it. I think I mentioned, oh God, I said in brackets, read email. I hope you're still here, John. Let's see if I can pull up the email quick. I did have it saved. Hold on. Come on, laptop. Work with me, darling. No, this one's from Nick. We'll get to him in a second. And from John. Two episodes ago, I asked for GMT options that were not Rolex, Tudor, or Grand Seiko. I was bombarded with options, looked into all of them and settled with the Zin 856 UTC. I want a complication that jumps the GMT hand, not the hour hand. Working at an aluminium plant or aluminum on the west coast of the USA, wanted to keep track of the east coast. This is the perfect complication for that. A tough, true tool watch that can take a beating, perfect for my work environment. Thank you to the ID community for helping me settle on this watch. Really impressed with the quality. I've been on the fence about Zin. Now I'm a convert. Looking forward to the next show. John, I really hope you're still here and you haven't left us. But I love that. That's just awesome. It does. I remember that show where we went nuts. The chat was ridiculous. And I did say to John that he needs to get a pen and paper handy and just write down as much as he can. And great that you settled on this piece. It's awesome. It really is awesome. So the show was a success back then. I hope my stream is catching up. I don't know if it is. I think there's a bit of delay in the chat, or maybe I don't know. I think the chat's broken. Who knows? Oh, there's more. Okay, let's jump. So thank you for this, John. Really is nice to see this watch. The UTC is a real machine. Anyone who's new to this hobby, have a look at the Easy M line, another great example of pieces. And yeah, just awesome. GMT time. Works at a aluminium plant. Zin, got to enjoy it. Thank you again, John, for sending this. I hope your email was read clearly. And yeah, just goes to show, if you have any questions to ask, don't have to direct them to me. Tag me in the chat, but ask everyone, and you will be amazed at the results. This is great. Thank you for this, John. Really a pleasure having you. And jumping back to the hydro, the hydro improvement. I think that's fascinating. Built like a tank, Nat says. I'm missing you all here in the chat. Hans, I don't know what's going on. Eric is the top man. I'm scrolling up to try and... Russell says, does the silicone oil trick work with Patek dress watches? I think your 5370 does deserve a bit of oil, Russell. That would be good. I mean, can you imagine? God. Okay. This is awesome. I love this. It's such a great at-home DIY mod. Thank you for this, Eric. Keep the quirkiness coming like you always do. And let's move on next to Evan. I don't know if he's in the chat with us, but he sends in, we were just looking at a Seamaster earlier on. Jeez, I need to take a breath. Hold on a second. Taking the coffee in, reading that email. Oh. Right, coffee, getting back into it. UTC stands for Universal Time Constant. I love that, Eric. Thank you. And these kinds of things I'm not that well versed with, and it just helps. You know, my brain is working on one track, so it's good to know that there's many other brains out there helping and giving advice and, you know, perspective. It's awesome. Right. We're really good at spending other people's money, Nefarion. I fully agree. I mean, it's a fun thing when you shop for someone else. Not only are you, you know, adding that extra, that outside perspective, but you're also just, you know, you're able to just, you know, imagine what you'd be doing in that situation, and it's great. It really is great. So Evan sent in, I think Evan goes by the name Pound the Drums, if he's in the chat. I did see him earlier. And he sent in 2 shots of this Omega Geneve, which is from 1971, Berthier watch. And he mentions, let's see what he said here, Berthier caliber 565, if anyone's interested. Another example of a watch that you can pick up for great prices. They're still very easy to find. As far as I know, it's a hand wound. Don't quote me. I'm not the best with these references, but I think it's a hand wound from 1971. And he sent in 2 more, which I really like. The F300. These electronics, I mean, they are packed full with history. When it comes to the quartz crisis and all that, Juan is joining us. Juan, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we were a bit worried. All of us were a bit worried about you not being here. It's great. We featured a couple of vintage pieces, but we are still not done yet. So he sent in, these are 2 variants of the F300. And I like this one because we've got a good example of it on the wrist. And yeah, the 300 hertz, I'm not much of a movement junkie, I think most of you know, but this was Omega's way of branching into the quartz region. I don't know if it used the same kind of technology as, what is the, here we go, tuning fork method. I don't know if it uses that same kind of mechanism or if it was a little bit altered, but yeah, very accurate. I don't think these had ticking hands. I'm pretty sure the hand just flowed like organically around the dial. Correct me if I'm wrong. Juan, thank you again. It's so good having you here. And yeah, absolute pleasure. We're going to miss your watches on the show, but someone already made up for the Vacheron that you normally send us and a couple of other vintage pieces. I'm sure we'll get to more of them later on. Yeah. Any more questions, ladies and gents? I'm missing you in the chats, as is always the case. Forming Colossus says, add some sprinkles to the silicone oil for a snow globe. Oh, can you imagine? I mean, lots of ladies' watches do have that effect. You know, the diamond effect. That's so funny. Forbin, you're on fire. I love your comments. So yeah, Evan, great seeing these F300s. I don't know if you're in the chat anymore, but you were here at the beginning of the show. And Bolivar was a tuning fork. Yeah, I mean, Juan is in the chat. I'm sure he can substantiate a lot more. He knows his movements well. He has many of them in his collection. If you'd like to focus in on those aspects, if you'd like to address the tuning fork movement and what brands use them, that would be great, Juan. Interesting shape around the logo. I agree. I mean, this is almost like how you can find, what am I doing here? The defining element that highlights that 300 hertz is this triangle. You see that on all the models. I kind of like it. You notice how it was like their stamp of approval back then. And loving the case here, I mean, it's just so typical 70s, you know, transitional 60s, 70s, this cushion case styling, very true. And we've seen it revived. It's all over the place now. I'd say one of the most gorgeous attempts recently is the Moser Streamliner. Okay, got to carry on motoring, and I think that's the last. Evan, thank you for sending these in. All Omegas, we love them. We do love our Omegas. Next up, jumping to Philippe. He sent in a rare Seiko. Let me try and get this right. Seiko 5. He sends in a lot of Seikos in the past, I think. It's a SNK 791 ice blue. You cannot not appreciate an ice blue dial. Matching shirt. Got some focal blur in the background. What would you call that? Bokeh? I don't know. But look at that dial. It's amazing. And this, I don't know if this is new or if this is vintage, or again, I'm new to the Seiko world. So SNK 791. I think Sam Ray will appreciate this. Okay, so Juan has mentioned, and Roar of the Tiger as well, saying they differed for the Bolivars in that they used standard watch batteries. Okay, and Juan mentioned that the tuning fork hit Hamilton Electric hard, much more reliable and accurate. Hamilton, that was the term, Hamilton Electric. I have a few Bolivar Accutrons for my birth year around the time in my collection. Yeah, James, very interesting. We featured them a couple of times. I think Juan has sent in a truckload of them in the past. Okay, so yeah, again, the Seiko references SNK. No idea what that means, but it sounds good. It sounds good. Um, nice color, though. Got to say, the ice blue, we're talking about how colors are making a resurgence, and the popular ones. I mean, the OP39s, sorry, the OP41s, and the whole new area, they're focusing in on those kinds of colors. And here's an example of that beautiful turquoise. But then you have this gorgeous radial brushing sunburst in the center, which is really clean. And we're going to see a few more of these later on. We've got some presages and everything else. James mentioning it's the new Seiko 5 collection. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that, Julian. That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. I've got to try and carry on. I've got to try and keep track of the chat while doing this, and it can be very distracting. Okay. This is good. James, you just mentioned this. So I'm sure you know that your daughter has sent in many, many wrist shots, and I have a folder saved of a lot of them. We're going to see some high-end stuff now. We're going to jump into a completely new area, and I saved 3 for the show, which I think we will enjoy. First off, we're going to start with Ressence white. Me and my, of course, these are just sent to me. I don't know the names. I did not take the time to research all of them, but it's a really cool 3-watch selection that we're going to have a look at now. So yeah, Ressence, love it or hate it. It's a very organic, extremely peculiar brand in the scheme of things. I think it uses 2 ETA-based calibers, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's so interesting seeing how they work, and the industrial designer in me really appreciates it, because we talk about oil-filled watches. Here's an example. Interesting layout. So we have a temperature gauge on the side. Let me see if I can get this right. I think this is the power reserve indicator. This is, I have no idea what this is, but it looks cool. Then we have our time, our hours. Sorry, Magic Mouse is not cooperating with me here. So it's 6, or coming up to 6, and then we have our minutes on the outside here, and it's 5:44 at the moment. A really fascinating way of telling time. And the date, as far as I know, the date triangle is here, so it's the 9th when this was, I don't know. It looks familiar, James says, yeah. I mean, you're lovers of Ressence as a brand. And they do some good stuff. They do some, I mean, the way they've combined colors, there was a gorgeous olive dial model that they brought out lately, which looks exceptional. I don't know so much about the white dial. This feels very much like something a designer would love, or would gush over, because of the accent colors. It's not a black, it's like a deep charcoal color instead. And there's small things you can appreciate, like, the modernness, the modernity of the case, this pebble form to it. But at the same time, they haven't lost themselves in any way when you look at the type they've decided to use. The numerals all feel very true to what it's trying to represent. I hope you can see that there if I get a bit closer in. No serifs, very modern. It's hard to really classify where this watch sits in the scheme of things, but it's more modern, less retro. The handset chosen, it's fascinating. I've mentioned this many times. Look at Watchbox reviews. Tim does some great discussions around Ressence, and just see how it works when it comes to setting the time. There's no crowns, there's nothing. It's all operated at the back, and you can have a lot of fun with talking about simplifying your watch collecting strategy. I don't think this applies to you, James. The Arthur family, definitely not. But I mean, if you want to go down the street of modernity, a bit more of an industrial fling, this is cool. Right, interesting screws. Yeah, I mean, they're flatheads, huh? They're set right here. It's interesting. I mean, we could talk about these for ages. Lots of comments I'm missing here. Must be Monday. If these watches were a third of the price, they would be epic. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. They are ETA-based calibers, and they are, for what they are representing, I mean, it's watchmaking at its finest. It's a pity that they are very expensive for what they are. But at the same time, you can't really find this anywhere else, unless if you're lucky to look at micro brands. And mentioning flat 4 from Russell, yes, we appreciate a flat 4. Samurai saying this is the Ressence Type 3W. Thank you. Right, we're going to move to the next. Oh God, this is very difficult. Do I choose MB&F or do I choose Grubel 4C next? Let's have a look at the MB&F. I mean, okay. I called this MB&F Legacy. I don't know MB&F. Crucify me. I don't know the brand. But it's another example. I mean, I'd really like this selection of 3 because it just jumps all over the show. Now, the one watch that I think we can relate most of us know Moser pretty well. they had a great partnership collaboration with MB&F recently with their domed crystals and everything there. I really the balance wheels here. I don't know if they would call this a tourbillon. It isn't a tourbillon technically, but we have day, date, month, year. So I would imagine it's an annual calendar. I don't know if it's perpetual. We have a power reserve that's offset over here. I think this would have been better done if the hand was white. There's actually two. Is it a double barrel? Hold on a second. I think it's a double barrel power reserve. Okay, fascinating. These hands should be in white. I think maybe to bring up them a bit more. But then those hands also, the actual central hands would have to be white too. There's so much to talk about these pieces. They're stupidly complex. Same with the Ressence. It's so difficult to spend like 5 minutes talking about them. That's a house on your wrist. Yeah, I know it is. It's nuts. That's the balance wheel. Yeah, that's the power play watch, the boardroom. LM Perpetual. Is that what it's called? Jean-Claude, thank you. So it's the MB&F Legacy Machine Perpetual, I'm guessing. Okay, getting somewhere. Yeah, very fun to play with. I don't know if you're talking about this or if you're talking about the Ressence, James, but yeah, they are large. Russell has interesting taste. I look forward to sharing Russell's piece when it arrives. It's going to be very good. Mum's the word, Russell. I'm not telling anyone. Last but not least, and I think James will love this, I liked this selection. Sometimes they just work out pretty well. Grubel Forcy. I called this double tourbillon because I didn't know what else to call it. Crucify me again. I don't know the reference of this. This is so above my pay grade. But we can appreciate the hottest of high horology in the game. So if you want to get some really good reference guides on Grubel Forcy, have a look at TikToking with Steve Halleck. He's got a great channel. And I've learned so much about these watches from him. He has such an underrated page. Actually, let me try and get it in the chat for you. TikToking. I think that's how you spell it. Get that link, put that into the search and find his page and just browse. I mean, he looks at Lungers, he looks at really high-end pieces, and he helps explain more aspects around the brands. He knows the brands way better than most of us in this space. So what I love most about Grubel that I've mentioned before is that the tourbillons, for the most part, I think this tourbillon is offset. It actually works as a functional tourbillon. The problem with tourbillons is that flat ones on the wrist don't do anything really. They're not functional at the end of the day. They're there for show. They're there for artisanal quality, not for function. The benefit of having a tourbillon that's angled at like a 30-degree angle is that it actually does counteract gravity and can work as something that helps regulate your watch, which is the whole purpose of the thing. When one tourbillon isn't enough, yeah, I know. I mean, one tourbillon is showing off, two is just, Bjornar is joining us. Welcome, Bjornar. So James, these watches are your pride and joy. Grubel is pretty much your grail in this selection, right? You have a couple of them, and these pieces all speak to you differently. So it's a double barrel. Let's try and get this right. Double barrel. We have running seconds. I'm pretty sure we have a tourbillon in the front and a tourbillon at the back. And then we have our power reserve, which is, good God, 120 hours. You're kidding me. That is insane. Talk about a power reserve. Is that the other tourbillon? It might be. Maybe. I don't know. But it's just nuts. At 30, oh, here we go. That was a good guess. 30 degrees. So it means that this tourbillon is in fact angled at 30 degrees. If you had to see it at an angle, it's amazing. Of course, the problem is that the watch's thickness does get affected. The watch will be a lot thicker to incorporate an angled tourbillon involved, but at least you know that the tourbillon's there to function. It's great. I can talk about when we're dealing with these complex machines, you can spend a lot of time talking about them, but I really like this 3-set selection. We featured all sorts from the Arthur family, but this is good. 120 hours. That is incredible. I've never seen that before. Dealing with that's watchmaking at the end of the day. I wonder what the beat rate is. I would imagine it beats quite slowly. Okay. Thank you for these, Megan and James and Jacinta, wherever you are in the world. It's a pleasure sharing these with everyone. Moving on next to a watch that, speaking of high horology, how's that scotch working for me? B-Dev, you're a laugh. I've got a bit left. Actually, I've got quite a lot left. I'll definitely touch it now. Moving on next, let's keep it basic. Going back down to earth. Let's go back down to earth. And we have to thank James for these. Yeah, of course, James, absolute pleasure. I mean, you can learn so much. I mean, what's great about these watches what I love about these shows is that we don't only see the stuff that's advertised to us, but we see the stuff that other collectors own. And from it, I mean, if anyone is interested about Grubel Forsey, there's so many good resources out there if we just study up on, and you can learn so much about these brands. Yeah, just awesome. Okay, moving on. Thank you. To George next. Now, the funny one, this is the funniest. The email that he mentioned, he said, I know this watch is featured virtually every show, and they're often duplicates. Now, we've featured, I think, over the course of these 23 shows, sometimes we've featured 5 black dials, 5 white dials in the polar category. Now, wouldn't you believe, as far as I know, this is the only Explorer, not just Explorer 2, the only Explorer on the show. I think it's the only Rolex GMT. No, it's not. It's not. It's the only Explorer, which is hilarious because sometimes we get, you know what, 50 of them. So this is a solid end link. Let's see if I can try and work this out. This is not the last generation of it, I don't believe, but it's definitely a solid end link model. I would imagine it's pre-2011, pre-2010. It's difficult. I'm the worst when it comes to identifying these models. With references, it's like Seiko reference numbers. I can't identify one watch from the other. I'm very bad in that way. Awesome looking model though. The Polar Explorer. I got some hands-on time a couple of months ago with one. Believe the hype. They are great. 5-digit references are where it is. They are awesome, especially when you can get them in good condition. You know. James mentioning, welcome, the GF actually belongs to Jacinta. Okay, thank you, James. I mean, it's exceptional, gotta say. It would be nice to have a Grubel Forsey off one show, just have like 6 of them and discuss all the specs there. That would be great. Check out Grubel Forsey's Instagram, Sam Ray mentions. Go for it. Last few years, see the rehord. That's what I was thinking, Julian. As far as I know, the 2011 models had less black accents around the plots here on the dial. As far as I know. I mean, geez, I could be talking complete bull, as always, as many mention. Right, carrying on through, George, this is great. Also, we get a shot in the frost, so I'd imagine this is quite a recent photo. Have you heard of Beauvais? Yes, I have heard of Beauvais. They are exceptional as well. It's amazing. I mean, this hobby just doesn't stop. Asking about Zapek and Beauvais, and we're going to talk about next. Okay, Stuart says, want one. I wouldn't mind adding one of these to a collection. The next watch I want to buy is a Rolex. I think that's the goal. Don't know when, and I've set a very specific rule when it comes to picking up a new watch. Right, moving on next. George, thanks for this. We're jumping to Gareth. George, is this your watch? Yeah, I just see you jumped in the chat. If this is you, George, I will say that this is the only. Don't worry about apologizing for missing the hours. It's fine. We've still got lots to go. If this is your watch, George, your watch is the only Explorer this time around, which is hilarious. You know, more than most, that we've featured hundreds of them in the past. The only Explorer on the show. Next up to Gareth. All right. Now, this is what's cool. There are 2 guys who sent in British military issued models. This being a Persista G10, and we do later have a W10, a CWC G10, which is going to be good. So, I think they call this the Fat Boy, if I'm not wrong. This is also a part of the Fat Boy area. So, watch my Watches of the British Armed Forces video. It covers all of these. I actually watched it the other day. Cringe at how bad the recording sound is, but there's some good info in there, surprisingly. And it's awesome just listening to that timeline of how these field watches evolved and developed and adapted. Persista came after CWC, I think, yes. And yeah, Hamilton, and work backwards there. It's awesome. The question behind this, Gareth picked this up recently. It's a great example. I mean, this watch, I don't even think it's seen action. The loom is in such good shape. So, and if I'm not wrong, this uses Swiss core. Oh, awesome. So if anyone does know their British field watch history, when we get later on in the years, they started using Japanese quartz, which was much less effective, nowhere near as good. So using I think it was a Ronda quartz, before CWC. Oh, thank you, Eric. No, it's not part of the Dirty Dozen, Mr. Cephology. This is much later. This is like 40 years later. So this using a Swiss quartz instead of Japanese, great. Adds a lot more value to this watch. Now, he wants to know, I'm sure someone will be able to tell us. Eric, you will probably be able to tell us. He doesn't know where this watch was sent or originated. It's from 1980. That's how you can tell here. These designations, he assumes it's Navy, ? He says. So it would be good to know if anyone in the chat could highlight where they think. I mean, there's a couple of us here. Eric, Julian, maybe even Mark P would be able to, Thomas would be able to identify this maybe. These reference numbers, what they could be assigned to. I'm sure Eric will know, like right off the bat, if it's Navy. Yeah, it's good to have a few military personnel in the background here. So yeah, I mean, the originals, I do love how you get the batteries out of these. No fussing around removing the case back, just a hatch with use a couple of, just a coin, a 5-cent coin, 5p. Open it up, switch it out. Are these fixed spring bars? I think they are. Fleet Air Arm, Eric's asking. Maybe. So that's something to help you with, Gareth. Fleet Air Arm, Army. Have a look. Have a look. These reference numbers all have a meaning to them. And unless you have a book, the 6645 NATO number, that's the NATO stocking number. Got it. Okay. I'll be sitting on this watch for ages. Let's move on next to Greg with a 50s Air King. Now, how cool is this? We looked at the original, the modern one, should I say. Now we have a classic on board. And I assumed this was a 50s Air King. It was, obviously an Air King. Looking at the hands, this looks like something right out of the 1950s. That's also the batons on the dial. The parchment. B-Dev asked me about the whiskey. Taking a hit from it now. Han saying in the chat, is Marky... Oh, you can't talk after drinking whiskey. Don't do it, dude. He says there's Marky here. 99 means was produced in the UK. Thank you, Mark. It's good when you learn these references, eh? I mean, that's what I like about serial numbers. You can really study up and get the full coverage. So the eggshell dial is gorgeous. It just looks like something right out of that time. More watches need to have these beautiful alpha hands. Just cleans it up nicely. Don't know so much about the black seconds hand. Maybe this was heat blued. Over time, it's oxidized, similar to the dial. Nice, clean looking dial though. Yeah, it's good. It's very good. Yeah, it's exceptional. It's so interesting looking back. I mean, I've had such a fun time looking back at the vintage catalog from the Rolex brand. And you can, I mean, honestly, this is not just me fanboying or anything else, but when it comes to creative inspiration, they have one of the best back catalogs with their vintage pieces. There's so many little things you can get inspired from, which I hope to bring to the front for everyone to see one day. If the Commandos work well, I'll put the link in the chat again for all of you joining. I helped Eddie, the owner of Time Factors, make a Smith's watch, and it's going to be going on sale tomorrow, Sunday. So if you'd like to have a look at it, there's the link. Check it out. Have a look at the idea. There'll be a review video coming out next week. Yes, it's 34. This is definitely a 34 mil case. Actually, funny enough, the Commando, which is what the watches that I kind of based the aesthetic on, used a 34 mil hand-wound case. And the Air King case has always been famously known to be 34 mils in size. This is being a perpetual, which is quite nice. Generally, the Air Kings are hand-wound too. Right. Eric Bell saying that the 6645 is Army. Okay. So this is Army issue. Good to know. So Gareth, not Navy, Army issue. Getting somewhere. Looks like Ryan Gosling's. He's big when it comes to cushion cases as well, right? I don't know. I don't really follow celebrities and their watches. Don't crucify me. Fiona says, man, I miss these shows every week. They're not on. Oh, man. I know. The reason why, let's move on to the next. Greg, thank you for sending this in. We're going to jump across to Gregor next. How gorgeous is this shot? He just picked this up, I believe. Seiko 1978 quartz 7546800. The reason why I don't do a show, I would love to do a show every second week, but it would probably kill me. That's the honest truth. Every week, I should say. Did I say every second week? If I did it every week, it would kill me. When it comes to saving the images and everything else, it's a lot of work. I mean, all these titles on the side here are named and numbered, but also it helps. It just helps break up things. I think if it was so repetitive, it would be hella boring for people. It would be very boring for me, constantly having to talk about watches for 4 hours every weekend. You know what I mean? So yeah, brevity. Brevity is the soul of wit. Is that it? I don't know. Awesome piece. And again, reference numbers 7546800, if that helps anyone out there. Type 2 at the 6 o'clock. Apparently these are rare. Another, Sewer factory dial. Eric says, is this what this symbol represents? Yeah, me and Seiko, I've just started, and I will never fully understand the brand, but it's good trying. It's good saying that you know, stating that you think you know something, even though you don't. It's always good, especially someone who talks about design of things. Yeah, it's a laugh. It is a laugh. Right, carrying on through. Gregor, this is awesome. Got to say, I love the matte dial. Not so, it's interesting seeing how they applied the logo in certain places and then painted areas, and they've blended that where it's applied and then painted and painted. There's a nice balance there. Date window on Seiko watches is famous, as most of us know. And yeah, I saw a few more mentions in the chat. I'm sorry that I'm missing you all here. Let's see if I can catch up. Type 2, interesting. Yeah, let's see. God, sorry guys. Scrolling through the chats, I struggle. Now I'm seeing cherries and eggplants in the chat, which is always a joy. Gotta say, gotta love our cherries and our stones. Speaking of cherry, let's get the Fisherman's Friends out. Official sponsors. Not. Brevity is wit under Achieving Watch Collector. Well, definitely don't watch these shows in that case, because 4-hour live show is not brief in the slightest. And I just talk out of my ass half the time. Raymond saying we'll catch the rest of the stream tomorrow. Raymond, it's currently coming up to 2 o'clock in South Africa. How can you still be awake? I hope you survived the power cut there. God, brings back memories. I'll tell you a story about that now. Okay, Gregor, thank you for sending this in. We're going to move next to James Con 11. I don't know if you're here with us, James Con, but I stole this off the Discord because I had to. It's just Woody and the root beer. Now, we've featured watches from James before. Woody, the golden retriever, on form. I've had 4 golden retrievers in my life, so I'm very biased. I love goldies. And we got a root beer. I remembered that we do have one GMT. I think this is the only GMT we have left. Yeah, I think it is. Funny as that. How cool is the strap? I love it. The bezel, the dial. This is for me at least, when it comes to looking at the root beer GMT, this is the archetype. The toffee caramel bezel, gorgeous dial. I don't know if this is a redial or if this is original, but also I'm not a fan of the nipple dials very much, or the flat matte brown dials. I much prefer the sunburst. It's just bling factor galore. Best dog breed ever. Yeah, I love them. Golden retrievers are just real life companions. So what was I going to say? There was something funny talking about power cuts. So those of you who don't know, South Africa has a very poor energy commission company when it comes to looking after their nuclear power stations. I think they still use a coal power station, if I remember right. And so they tend to have these ebb and flows when it comes to cutting power and deciding, okay, we're going to take 2 hours away from this part of the area and 2 hours here and there. And when I was growing up in Cape Town, I was a big tropical fish owner. Discus fish were my favorite. We're actually going to be looking at fish later on, you wouldn't believe. But if anyone knows tropical fish keeping, discus fish are the most temperamental bastards out there. Gotta say, they need everything to be perfect. Water quality, pH, everything needs to be optimal. Water temperature, so important. Every time the power went off, had to put blankets over the tanks, and it was nuts. But good times, right? I do love going on these rants. Now I want a real root beer. Yeah, love it, love it. Andrea says, if you like that color, get a baby. You'll have... so if you like that color, get a baby. That is so good, Andreas. Get a baby. You'll have that 4 times a day. God, that made me laugh. That is so good. That is so good. I mean, I'm in my late 20s, and I have a couple of friends who are currently in that frame at the moment, and I'm sure they would agree. God, that made me chuckle. Okay, good. Awesome looking watch. I love it. I love a root beer. It's just so different. It's not your Coke bezel. It's not your standard Pepsi in this line. And this is the original, the OG. I love what they did here with like the clash of the 6 there and the serifs on the I mean, there's so many little aspects. Vintage Rolex again. When it comes to inspirations, there's a lot to grab. Now, James says love this watch as well. Yeah, stainless steel. That's so cool. Right, we're moving on next to talking about golden retrievers. Very true, Jean-Claude. I mean, Jean-Claude would know about the baby mess. Right, moving on to Jason next. Now, speaking about the OP a lot recently, and this is the swan song of the OP39 in black, tuxedo black. It is awesome. Oh, it's so good. It's such a nice looking watch. Why did they discontinue this? So Nefarian says, we need to talk about the Commando. You have a watch with your logo engraved in the back. Don't know anything about it. It just happened this week, Nefarian. I've been discussing it over the last, Eddie and I have been discussing it over the last like 3-4 months. And it just arrived on my doorstep. And I decided, okay, drop everything, do a review. That'll be out next week, discussing the watch. And in it, we'll be talking about a bit of inspiration here and there. It's kind of my foray into, trying to put a bit of a design stamp on Smith's pieces. I love the Everests. Anyway, getting back on form. The Oyster Perpetual 39. This watch is such a win. Look at the handset. So talking about designing a watch, you do start to get very anal about all these little factors like kerning on letters, the spacing between letters, and the bend of these obelisk hands, and how it tapers to the front but gets wide at the back, and how there's this great balance between the quarter Arabics and the crown at the top. This is the archetype. It deserves so much love. It's such a pity that this was discontinued, honestly. Why did they do it? 39 mil size is also fantastic for all wrist sizes, I think. So I must be horrid, but that Rolex does nothing for me. Roar of the Tiger, it's okay. It really is. I mean, the problem is it's basic, right? And not everyone likes a basic watch. I probably wouldn't. I need a bit more complexity to my watches personally. But as far as an everyday wearer, mentioning one and done as a great example, this is it. It's such a pity that they stopped it. This is probably just a personal opinion, but I prefer the single batons to the double. The double does some good things. The double batons do help you break your eye up when you're looking up the dial. It helps you center your eye better. You are horrid. Russell, I think you're returning that to me. I'm a horrid person. So yeah, there's pros and cons. But this is just the archetype of what this model should be about. The OP is just a classic. Anyway, spoken about that enough. There's a 30-minute video on the channel talking about the evolution of the OP line. Yeah, got to carry on through. Jason, awesome seeing this watch. You mentioned that you don't know if I've tried on one of these. I haven't. The best I've gotten is an Explorer 39 to try. And what this watch does better than the Explorer 39, a domed bezel. Look how it bends the light, which means that it makes the visual size of the watch look a little bit smaller on the wrist. Greatly appreciated. Okay, Jason, thank you. We've already checked out John's UTC from earlier, which is awesome. I hope you were still here for this, John, earlier on. This was great. This was basically through the community, got this watch for him, and we sorted it out very nicely. Any thoughts about throwing the OP on a strap? Yes. I mean, that's another thing. When you're dealing with something as simple as a black dial or a white dial, it's the most versatile thing out there. Put it on leather, put it on a NATO. There's so many options. I mean, I could talk about it for ages and ages. Chrono Craze, you were here earlier on, but you had to leave us. I think you took a break from work. He sent in, and this is a fascinating watch. I mean, I know this brand gets a lot of flack, but hell, Chrono Craze has a YouTube channel. Let's see if I can get this right. Chrono Craze. I think it's one word. I don't know. 2 words. Check out his page. He has a segment on his page called Watch You Strapping. I think that's what he calls it, and basically features like a 2-3 minute video talking about the watch he's wearing. He's back. Good. Okay, check out his YouTube channel. This watch caught my attention. I mean, it's seldom that a design can really grab me. Worn and Wound have been doing some excellent partnerships lately, and look at this thing. I mean, we know the history of this watch getting a lot of flack here. They're doing very well in the UK, though. There's no denying. But the aesthetics here, it's very much a modern take on your typical, what do you call it now? Oh, God, slipped my mind now. What am I saying here? Radial dial. What is it now? Like the JLC, the Longines variant. Someone help me out, please. I've just lost the plot. I think it's oxygen deprivation. Been running the show for 2 hours and 5 minutes, so it's expected. taking a hit from the coffee. What is that thing called? Sector dial. That's it, Joe. Thank you. John and Vacheron. Sector dials. So it's very much like this retro modern take on a sector dial. But it has this like train tracks. It's fascinating, man. There's so much detail to the dial. Okay, let's go back up to the top and just look at it a bit more. What do I appreciate? I love how they've cut out these segments for the numerals there. That's very interesting. So in some negative space, you have very simple pencil hands, which work nicely with the batons. You have basic numeral arrangement around the dial that also matches the color of the loom. Yeah, there's lots of factors. Thank you, everyone, mentioning sector dials. Really appreciate it. I just, my brain had a bit of a meltdown there. Red accent on the tip of the seconds hand and a red accent for the date. What I would have preferred is no red accent on the seconds hand because it's a white hand as it is. It's easy enough to see. This could be turquoise, I think, instead of red. Because that then, if you look at it just glancing, you see the date very easily. It kind of catches your attention a bit too much. Maybe if it was turquoise, it would blend in a little bit better on the watch. But I got to say, what a great approach. Really good. Worn and Wound have done some amazing stuff lately when it comes to partnerships. Fascinating machine, got to say. And there was mention about Christopher Ward being popular. Let's get the shot on the wrist. And Chrono Craze, you send us some beautiful photos too. Check out his Instagram. His YouTube channel. Christopher Ward watches are appealing to me. Modern simplicity, yes, they sell well. They do, for sure. We're actually going to have another look at one just now, the diver, the Trident, just in a second, actually. Fascinating. You wouldn't tell this is a Christopher Ward at first. And it does grab your attention. It has a very interesting language to it all the way around it. The finishing, the colors. I didn't even mention color choices with the graphite and the polished elements, the brushed elements. Yeah. Cut out date numerals with the red behind it would be good. Yeah, it's another good. Absolutely. Very good point. We're going on a bit of a design. I love that. A bit of a design focused element here. Cut out date window like the Zenith Defies. Cut out the date window like the stencils that we're seeing here and have the red underneath it. Spot on. That would be the win. Christopher Ward, if anyone's watching, do that. That would improve this a lot more. Simplify it. Who mentioned that point? Let's see if I can catch it. Sandwich loom. Yeah, that's it. So Sean Patrick or Jameson, you mentioned that. Great point. Excellent attention there. Okay, motoring on through. Huge crown for the watch. Yeah, I don't know what the size is, if it's 39 or interesting. It really caught my attention. Jumping to Luke, Horology Hound. So Andreas asking about the reference. Let's see if I can get this right. I'm sure I had it. Yes. So it's called the C. So it's a mouthful. Christopher Ward times Worn and Wound C65 Sandstorm chronometer limited edition. God. Okay, got to work that one out. But they need to make that into a initialism or something. Awesome shot though. Chrono Craze, tip my hat to you, sir. Moving to Luke next. Now, Luke goes by the name of Horology Hound. I think he has an Instagram handle. Let's see if I can get his handle here. Horology Hound. I think he has an Instagram. Check it out. This is a gorgeous shot. Now, the funniest thing of all, Luke, you were very lucky. I've been going through my inbox. I have something like 3,000 emails in my inbox thanks to these live shows. And I have tried to free up as much Google Drive space as possible. So I was deleting tons. I went into my junk mail folder and found 3 of your submissions of this watch. I have no idea how it ended up there, but we found you. So it's great to have you, Luke. Thanks for setting this in. Yeah, and so it goes. AMG C63. You know what? This kind of reminds me of an AMG C63. If that's what you're referring to, it does have that same kind of approach. It's a very good point. I don't know. Sounds like Mercedes. I don't know what's going on. So we have the James Bond No Time to Die. What's it called? What's the film called? Die Another Day. It's No Time to Die. The titanium Seamaster Professional that everyone is enjoying. Even though it hasn't been featured in the film, I loved how it all worked out, where everyone got this watch and it was, the film was cancelled or delayed. On an olive drab seatbelt strap, looks excellent. These watches are very much a love it and hate it in the military space. No Time to Die coming soon. Yeah. bloody hell, the name. Yeah, Andreas, it's a long name. I don't know if you got it, but I read it out a second ago. This watch will be vintage by the time they eventually release film. That's so funny. Yeah, so it's a love it or hate it thing. Let me try and rotate it around. I personally, I love the MOD inspirations here. They have done arrow is not necessary. Yeah, it's not. Let's address all the stuff. Try and do it briefly. I love that they've tried to attack the MOD inspirations, and they've done a pretty good job. But it's a pity. I mean, I think the Spectre edition did it so much more casually. It was a lot more subtle. At the same time, I think they released the Spectre model before they released the 300, if I'm not wrong. This just is too heavy on the Seamaster Professional front. I mean, they could have gotten rid of the helium valve. They could have added a different dial to it, maybe. But the nice thing is this watch does have a NATO stocking number, I think. So in a way, you can add the broad arrow there just for fun. What the hell? The one element that is definitely you can be on the fence with about is the lume. The idea of this faded lume everywhere. It definitely does complement the color because the watch is kind of like a gray brown, not so much black. Do appreciate the no date. It's nice. That is very nice. I need to take a breath again. When I start talking, it gets a little bit intense. That's a great watch. Awesome photo. It sure is, James. I want to definitely tell Horology Hound Luke about the photo in a second. But yeah, there's lots of things to enjoy about this watch, and it's just a great everyday wearing piece. I mean, we know a few of us here. James from Showcase Watches picked up one, and he can't stop wearing it. Titanium. I mean, titanium case, bracelets, one of the best mesh bracelets they've ever made. There's lots of stuff to appreciate with this piece. But the lume, I guess, polarizing. Yeah, it's fascinating. Apparently, Daniel Craig gave a thumbs up when he got presented the design, so he had a huge part to play in the development process. I don't know. It's all just marketing. But yeah, talking about the photo itself, it's so nice seeing this shot taken in this lighting. Again, Instagram, Horology Hound. Check out his page. He must have some exceptional stuff. Gotta love olive drab as well. Okay, moving on through. Luke, thank you for sending this in. We are jumping next to, oh, here we go. Some serious reference numbers from Eric. 0552 on case back. That's Royal Navy. Ooh. 923-7697 is a fleet diver, same as the Mille Sub Persistor. Very interesting, Eric. So same as the Mille Sub Persistor and the CWC. What did they use with the Omega? I mean, I've worn one of the Omega Mille Subs, the vintage ones. I wonder if they use that same reference or not, because the Omega predates the Mille Sub, the Rolex Mille Sub. Fascinating. And James says he loves the watch, even though it feels like a toy. I mean, it's so light. I mean, that's one of the secrets to it, really. Good old marketing. Okay, so moving on next, Luke. Thank you for this. We're jumping to Matthews. I'm going to try and get your name right, Matthews. You mentioned Matt in your email, but I try and get everyone's name right. We can enjoy something special here. Reverso Duo Face Medium, up close and personal. I think this is the only Reverso that we're going to be seeing. Sorry for that little glitch to the screen there. Magic Mouse is not cooperating. So Daniel Craig did 5 times as much work as John Mayer. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that partnership worked with G-Shock. Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to keep track of these limited editions and everything going on. I mean, it's every week there's something new, you know? It's a pain. So what's beautiful about this, he says, while hitting the coffee, hold on a sec. And I just say, James, it's such a pleasure having you here. I really appreciate that you're staying around with us and hanging out. I hope you're enjoying your time. What time is it in Oz? I'm going to say it's 9 hours behind. So it's like, what, 3 in the afternoon-ish? 3 or 4 in the afternoon where you are? I hope you're enjoying the show, James. Thank you for being here with us. Okay, so Duo Face Medium. What can we appreciate here? Attention to detail. Look at the serifs on those numerals. Look at the finishing in the center of the dial, the sub-seconds, all the texture for days, blued hands, polishing. It's just, but of course, this is just the close-up. We can also appreciate on the wrist. Now, I'm in such a weird space at the moment because as much as I would love a Rolex as my second luxury watch in this space, something about JLC as a brand that just keeps on pulling me back. but the ones I like are hella expensive, and it's like, yeah. My rule is going to be that whatever watch I decide to buy, I need to have twice the amount it's worth in the bank account. That's going to be something to help me. It helps. I think it's a good approach to have, because it helps you make sure that you're keeping track on your finances while not splurging all that you have on a watch, if you know what I mean. So if this watch, say, costs $6,000, then I'll have 12 grand in my account before deciding to pull the trigger on it. It also helps you delay your decision process. So maybe that's a bit of advice for someone out there who's new to the hobby like me. The dial is just incredible. Yeah, the size as well, medium size. I don't know. I'd imagine it's like from lug to lug, maybe like 45 mils, maybe 45 mils, and a 22 mil width from edge to edge. Don't quote me on that, but they're awesome. Really are awesome. James says, stay tuned for my limited edition GP coming soon. James, are you getting on the design front too? Oh, I look forward to seeing it. Oh, amazing. Sound fiscal advice? Hardly, Chaz. It's just, I've been debating with myself, and it's good idea, buy two. Russell, you're a legend. Tell you what, that is so funny. So yeah, have double the watch's price in your account so that you can buy two of the same. I mean, why not? Buy one sub to wear and another sub to keep in good nick. Yeah, good advice until the Rolex AD calls. Yeah, it is. So this, I did mention this is a duo face. So what does that mean? Well, we have two watches in one. Speaking of which, God, I love this. The black face on this just looks so good. This is actually, geez, it's such a cool looking watch. Let's just try and break it down. I didn't even realize this has just hit me now like a lightning bolt out of the blue. You have batons, you have sword hands, you have 24-hour time, actual travel time here. But then so this looks very like modern, in a way. It's got double batons there, which is very true to the 1931. They basically taken their past motifs and put it in. The 1931 ultra thin is my absolute favorite in this category. The black dial is just beautiful. Look at the finishing on this one too. God, it's so cool. Old school rail minute track. I love it. Okay, so you're looking at something here that looks pretty modern, kind of old school, but also kind of modern. It rides the line. Then you switch over to the white dial and you have something that's, even more vintage in a way. You've now got, Arabics and you've got batons on one watch. I love that. I didn't even, that's sometimes you hit these epiphanies. That's just hit me now. That you have, when you say you literally have two watches, this is absolute perfection in this category. When you want a dress watch that is more formal, less formal, something a bit more sporty. I mean, how's that for we're 2 hours, 20 minutes into the show, and I've just had this reality check. It's so good. Do what Russell said, buy two watches by buying this one. I mean, yeah, that's how it kind of segued in pretty well in the very on. Thanks. James says, I always buy my watches or cars using money from earned income once all my bills are paid. Yep. Never go in debt. Yep. Service the addiction. It's my advice to collectors. Yeah, I mean, it is. I have never been in debt in my life, which is pretty nice to say. Don't know how long that'll last, but you gotta. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to keep. Less stress in your life, I would say that much. Art Deco, James Conn, absolutely. James, I don't know if you saw your GMT featured earlier, but I stole the shot of you and Woody from earlier on. There it is. We had a good talk about your GMT. I think it's just awesome. The whole shot is just perfect. So I hope you don't mind that I completely stole it off the page. And switching back, what a beautiful watch. Art Deco in the purest sense, great size. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of piece. I'm not married, Russell. That's something else. Unless you got a 5711 when it came out. Yeah, use cash for watches. Yeah, okay. So debate your finances in the chat. That'll be good. So carrying on to Mantis. Hope I got your name right there. So this is another really good point. We were speaking about first-time luxury watch buyers in this space earlier on. I see Tillman is joining us. Welcome. So this is a Christopher Ward Trident. Now, he was a 21-year-old student. In his email, he said this is the first real, quote-unquote, watch that he picked up. And, I mean, when I was 21, let me think. Yeah, I hadn't even gotten into watches fully then. I was still just, like, browsing, just trying to, like, learn what I liked. And you know, it's crazy. For someone to start in this hobby, it's good. Start them young, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. They will appreciate it for years and years. That's awesome. I don't know if the chat's frozen or if I'm just if there's nothing going on. Sean Patrick says, interesting, the GMT subdial has day on top, night underneath. Let's go back to that one more time. Oh, I love that, man. We were speaking about the Batman GMT using the blue and black bezel earlier. Here we have white for daylight, black for night. Just makes sense. It's so logical. It's such a cool looking watch. Yeah, this is probably one of the best watches of the show, honestly, for my taste, for the whole, like the epiphany of having these two classical. Oh, it's so interesting. Okay. Got to stay on track here. So, CWC try. So he did mention that this is his first watch and he wears this everywhere for everything, which is also great. And 2.5 hours into the show, he's circling back to the theme of simplifying your watch collecting strategy. Have one watch that does it all. Be a happy camper. Don't have to keep hunting. Easier said than done, right? Yeah, it's a cool looking watch. The thing is with Christopher, I mean, we just saw that Worn and Wound collaboration. It looked a lot more considered, in my opinion. That could just be me. This watch looks, I mean, the new Christopher Ward logo, it's like representing the Swiss flag and something else. I've never understood it. That's at the top of the dial. And then this, I mean, what kind of type did they use here? It's kind of like Arial, but it might not be. I don't know. There's the E. The good way to tell is by looking at the E. It doesn't wrap around completely, so it might not be Arial type. I don't know. But that just doesn't speak to me much. That's just my criticism on this. I feel like it could be a lot more considered. Like this, though. I do like how they've divided up the 150 with a single line. Yeah, there's lots of aspects. Critiquing a watch. I shouldn't be a watch designer. I can tell you that much. I've decided I'm going to be very simple when it comes to watch designing because I will sit there scrutinizing every single thing, every single prototype, every model that comes out for the end of time. I'm afraid that's me at the end of the day. Tao's joining us. He said, hi, thanks for the warm welcome. Pleasure. Just went to a poker match wearing a Lunga. I think wearing it made me win tonight. Congratulations. It's not just a Lunga. It's a 1995 Lunga 1. It's the Lunga 1. That's why you won. That is awesome. Congratulations. Nice use of color, though. Got to say, the blue that they've used here is fantastic. The pencil hands, or just say the obelisk hands, great finishing on the edges, the polishing. Yeah. Gil Sands, Neil, might be. I shouldn't be a watch designer. Hey, guys, my watch. The Vacheron, that's the truth. I mean, I've got a collaboration watch, and this leads in perfectly. I say I shouldn't be a watch designer, and hey, there's one that's coming out tomorrow, my first watch collaboration. And it's hilarious. I put it in the chat again, just for shits and giggles. Let's do it. I'll drop it in just for a laugh. So check it out. That's a launch that's coming out tomorrow. The Vacheron, that's exactly what I wanted to try and segue into it. I scrutinize everything so much, and when I see it, I can't unsee it. The problem is, I mean, let me try and get to another piece now. Thank you for this, Mantis. Funny enough, we're jumping to Marcello, who is working his arse off on Rhino and SolidWorks as we speak. He sent in a Santos Gelby. He loves this watch. Mantis, thank you for sending in the Christopher Ward. So this watch he picked up for his birthday, I think, and he has such good taste. He's an industrial designer like me. He's a student, and he hasn't stopped taking this watch off. It's great to see a Santos in the purest sense here. So what was I saying now? Designing a watch. The problem is with the way I work when it comes to development and prototypes and everything is that I go through like 3 or 4 prototype phases all the time. The Vacheron, that's one of the best comments. And yeah, the problem is when you don't have that kind of prototype phase, you can't break down everything. You can't see exactly where there needs to be improvement. And unfortunately, you know, when there's not that case, when the watch goes from, you know, CAD to being released, there might be something that catches your eye that you thought you might want to change. And so it goes. Then the next generation, and it's a bit difficult. That's the problem with watch work I've found lately. So let's talk about text on date windows. And I don't know, I've got to catch up here. Nice reference, ceramic Laureato. I love the Santos. I'm so hung up on a black DLC Santos. Ooh, yeah, pure class. I mean, it's awesome. This model especially, this is so true to the original Santos as well. I mean, it's 29 mils, would you believe? And Marcello doesn't have a small wrist. This watch wears well. I've actually been looking at the latest ones. something, this is a great point. We're now what, 2.5 hours in. Something about the Santos line and what they've snuck their way into, how they've incrementally improved their watches to a point now where they have the best bracelet adjusting technology. Not only bracelet sizing, but bracelet removal technology, you know? They have all the sizes you would ever want. They're such cool looking watches, and you know, they speak so true to the Cartier name. This predates at least I think it does. It does predate the tank, and just some great things. Cartier at the 7. Sometimes we see it at the 8. Sometimes we see it at the 10. It's the way they play around. But they've been able to sneak their way in with the modern stuff of just improving everything with their modern line of watches. So talking about looking away from the stuff that's spoken about so often on these platforms, look at the Cartier brand. One of my favorites. I've still got a video queued up about the Cartier evolution. I love looking at the original Santos and how they made the XL skeleton and how they've used the brand, the identity of that dial as the core inspiration for making the skeleton dial work so well. Yeah, that's amazing. Chaz saying, what time will the Smiths drop be? It'll be 2 p.m. UK time tomorrow, Sunday. No idea how long the store is going to be open, but essentially, if it does well, then we can expand and get a lot more crazy with future designs. At least that's what I'm hoping. It keeps me a bit more creative and in tune. Yeah, so fascinating. This is an awesome watch. He is an industrial designer, and he loves this piece, rightly so. This is the first pilot watch. I mean, there's so much history to the Santos. Yeah, so. The Vacheron, that was such a good comment. I love it. That's probably also, you and Forbin Colossus have had the best comments today. Tao saying, it's interesting how Cartier manages to ride the thin line between horology and fashion. Yeah, and they're still so respected and appreciated, Their identity is still up there, and I love that. Yeah, there's lots to learn. I need to do like a 30-minute long talk around all the different designs, the peculiar, like the Basculant, the American, the Cintre, so many others, the Roadsters. It's just never stops. Marcello, thank you for sending this in. I hope SolidWorks is treating you well. It can be an absolute monster. I'd like to know what you're modeling. If you're still listening to us in the background, I'd like to know what you're actually modeling in the program. I have done everything from toasters and kettles to satellites in SolidWorks. I can tell you what, it's good stuff. Once you know the basics, it's like with anything in life. You just need to know like 15 commands and you can make pretty much anything with software. Yeah, so this one next from Mark. A beautiful watch that caught my eye. It's called a Chrono Tokyo it's called a Bullseye. Chrono Tokyo Bullseye. 37 millimeters, Miyota 9015. So nothing to really ride home about when it comes to complications and everything, but it's a beautiful looking watch. The colors, the way they've done the track around the dial, the automatic type. I mean, this looks like I'm pretty sure Longines uses this exact, and JLC, they use this exact typeface for the automatic print. What a stunning contrast of colors. Another sector dial, yes, but it's kind of like an inverse sector dial. It's great. It's really great. Forbin mentioning, see some questions here. Forbin saying, any idea which watch was first with screws on the bezel? I am pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure this was it. This is the watch that started it all. This predates Panerai and many others. I mean, it's crazy. As far as I know, this is the first. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone correct me otherwise. So Watch Guys TV did a feature on this brand this week. Chrono Tokyo. I've never heard of it before. Never seen it before, but Mark did mention in the email that they're getting a lot of attention. Lots of people are jumping on them now. Kind of like Ming watches in a way, Fascinating though. Look at them. This is the best. Look at how this dial plays in the light. I mean, this looks like Ming when it comes to high horology. The way they've finished it. Beautiful. As far as I know, it's a glass dial. This looked matte. Sorry, I'm trying to get my breath. I'm kind of losing it in here. This looked matte in this lighting, this exposure, but it actually is a glass dial. Stunning. And what he did mention in the email as well is what really sings to him, not only the proportions and the balance, but the size of the watch. 37 mils, just equal proportion, 20 mil lug width. Nothing to really write home about, but it does it so well. It's been well attended to. So James saying, thanks for the show. I have to sign off. Of course, the show and replay. Absolute pleasure having you here, James. Really, you've been with us for the last 2.5 hours. I'm sure there are plenty more things you would like to be doing right now, but yeah, just enjoy the awesome weather down there. Most of us are shaking our fists at you because it is really cold in the northern hemisphere, and we're about to get blizzards and snowstorms on the south coast of England. Like that's going to happen. I don't know, but thank you for being here, James. Really, it's always a pleasure having you. And yeah, to everyone else who's been a part of the show, who's joined and who's leaving us, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure sharing the watches. These shows wouldn't survive without you sending watches in. I mean, that's what makes these such a joy. So I hope you've been enjoying kicking back, drinking something good, and listening to me ramble on about whatever. Thank you again, James. Right, moving on. Blame it on Groundhog Day. Blame the snow blizzards. God, I love that film. Moving to Nathaniel. Mark, excellent outlier. Never seen this. Another brand. Check it out, ladies and gents. Nathaniel, Gulf of Mexico with a Luminox. Now we've got some real hardcore working instrumentality here. Look at that. That is crazy. That's nuts. I'm guessing definitely tritium tubes. Yeah, Groundhog Day is such a cool film. I've watched it many times. Some of them are just classics, you know. Bill Murray just nailed it. I never like not laugh at some of the scenes. Who's the guy's name who keeps like, oh God, whenever he steps into that ice puddle, and then on this third day he just smashes the guy in the face when he says hi to him. Oh, it's so good. His name's Ned or something. Oh, it's such a good film. Watch Groundhog Day. Just do that tomorrow. Enjoy it. Right. Luminox, tritium tubes. I mean, this is like serious. This is like the marathon of marathon watches. I can't see what this says here on the dial, but I do enjoy the use of E here. That's pretty nice. So what do you want here? You've got base 50 meters walking speed. I don't know how you'd be able to determine your walking speed, but you got a compass bezel. Yeah, it's nuts. It's a real instrument. I think a lot of us out there would enjoy these. Navy SEALs, is that what this is? I don't know. Insurance agent Ned. Oh, Chaz, that's the best. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's hi, Ned. Bang. That's so good. And it just keeps going. I mean, the whole the diner scene when he just determines everything that's going on in it. It's so good, man. I just laugh my head off. Bill Murray, what a legend. Okay, got to carry on. We took on over 17 inches of snow last Tuesday in Massachusetts, most of the Northeast. 17 inches. Now, of course, I use the metric scale, this part of the world where I come from in Africa. So that's a lot of thumbs. Yeah, that's 17 inches is ridiculous. And talking about minus, I mean, we deal with Celsius, or I deal with Celsius, I'd say. Minus 34 degrees Celsius in some parts. I can't believe that, eh? That is insane. I mean, that's frostbite the second you go outside. Warm and sunny in Southern California. Shazbot, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Orange indices, get me back on track. Interesting dial readout, Thomas. Thomas, have I even said hi to you today? I'm sorry, Thomas. If my name's not tagged in the chat, I do battle. So what's the idea here? From 9 to 24, it's orange accented here. From 9 to 12, should I say, or 21 to 24. I don't understand the reason there. Is it to do with timing? I'm guessing it has to do with your walking speed, kind of like a pulsometer, where over the course of a minute, you can determine your walking speed. Okay, walking speed based in meters. So over the course of, how's that for 60 seconds? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm racking my brains and I'm losing all the oxygen in the room. Okay, got to move on. Nathaniel, Gulf of Mexico. I mean, we've got a Cabo shot earlier on, and now we get to see Gulf of Mexico. It's just, yeah, just amazing. Oh, and we're not done yet because we're jumping to Neil, who was in the chat earlier on. And Neil sends in Black Bay, Hot Springs, New Mexico. Nathaniel, thank you for that shot. So, Black Bay 58. We've spoken about this watch, even though it hasn't been featured on the show yet. But Neil sends in some of the best submissions to these shows. Honestly, they are stunning. And he's been featured a couple of times on the cover. I think the last time he was featured, it was a Pelagos left-hand drive. Ooh, hold on a sec. My chat actually froze for a sec. I'm just refreshing it. That's cold. Even it's 0%, 0 Kelvin here. It's nuts. It's nuts. 42.5 centimeters snow. That is, jeez, that is crazy. That is crazy. 17 inches, 43.18. Thank you, Sam Ray. You guys are the measurements. It's awesome. Appreciated. That's crazy, man. Yeah, the snow, I mean, the worst I've experienced is, barely enough to stand on in reality. Probably, I don't know, maybe 2-3 inches of snow. It's probably the worst I've ever experienced. Still, it gets everywhere. Snow is... I've experienced it. I don't need to experience it again. I've had enough, unless I go skiing. Right, Black Bear 58, getting back on. Gilt dial. These are going to be classics for the rest of time, I think. Compared to the blue variant, there's lots to enjoy and appreciate about this watch and all that it offers. The color, black dials, black bezels will always stand the test of time longer. Gilt everywhere is cool. Takes good inspirations from the original 58 and the big crown sub. But we're not done yet, because the next shot he sends in is, I should also say, he's a left-hander, wears his watches on the right wrist, which is good. The last shot we featured was a left-hand drive Pelagos, I think. Sounds like he got rid of the left-hand drive for, hold on, this is not a left-hand drive. He sold the black left-hand drive that he had, and he's replaced it now with a blue, which is awesome. It really is nice. Yeah, got to carry on here. Don't submerge the crown, Eric says. Yeah, I mean, these watches can take a beating, right? Skied in 7 inches of fresh powder on Wednesday. Oh, awesome, Carl. Yeah, so this is good. So we have the BMW in the background. This was close to being the cover photo as well. Gotta say, the side, I mean, it works. Got the sleeve, got the background, everything blue. The only problem was it's too blue. So I had a bit of an issue there. Still, excellent shot. We can appreciate all the features to the titanium. And, the one critique I have is this. It's like Tolstoy wrote it. Apart from that, everything else is good. The layout is awesome. Really excellent looking model. And the blue is also quite striking. It's very, how do you say? It's more playful. It's not as serious. It's not a royal blue so much as it's more true to the original, the 7016s. That kind of color. It's not dark. It's right there. It's nice and bold. And I have no idea what the BMW is. He didn't actually mention it in the email. Uh-oh, come back. This is our first and only Submariner, would you believe? He didn't mention in the chat. I have absolutely no idea. So, yeah. The badge looks pretty big. Maybe it's part of the X series. I have no idea. But Sam Ray knows his cars more than most. Awesome shot. I mean, the quality of this photo is just beautiful. Right, Neil, keep sending these in, please, because come back. Sorry. Keep sending these in because you'll make the cover again. Your photos never fail to impress. Right on. Technicolor blue. I like that. Would you guys say that the Pelagos wears bigger than the Aquis? Squiggly Frank says. How big is the Aquis? I would say this watch does. I mean, the issue with this piece is its magic mouse always glitches out like 3 hours in. The issue with this watch is the case height. Very tall case height. So that probably makes it feel a lot bigger on the wrist overall. Okay, switching out next. Neil, thank you for this. We're jumping to, I think, the only Submariner. Okay, in the snow. I think Nick is based in the UK. That's a 124060. Ah, man, if only. If all the stars aligned, this would be the one for me. One and done Rolex for me, I'm afraid to tell you. Right, so Nick says, this was an email that he sent across, and I liked it. It was very poignant. My brother and I are fans of your channel. We are also sons of a watchmaker who is no longer with us. He disliked Rolex. Excuse me. He disliked Rolex as they never supported independent watchmakers for spares. He also would say how their movements were nothing special. In fact, he had some weaknesses going back a few years. He did, however, praise their cases and bracelets. I thought this previous model Submariner as hold on a sec. Is this a previous? I bought this previous model Submariner as a 10-year-old. Okay. One of the shops he worked for was for a Rolex AD in Uxbridge. Okay. And they had the James Bond Submariner in the shop, Timothy Dalton era. Okay. I tried it on, wanted it. 20 years later, I got one. Okay. So when he was 10, so let me try and get this right. So just correct me here. This is a 114060. It's not the 214. So he 20 years ago he tried on the Dalton 5513, and now he picks up this watch 10 years later. I'm trying to get this right. It's difficult to read. As a bit of a tribute, similar to my backstory. Honestly, Nick, we share something similar there. This picture was from yesterday, the 25th of January. I was looking for a suitable snow watch for a snow day. My brother and I will share more watches with you. Some are more interesting vintage pieces. Thank you for this, Nick. So your dad was a watchmaker and didn't appreciate Rolex because they did do a little bit of quirky things back then with their watches. They weren't all the best all the time, but you know, it's good. Appreciating cases and bracelets, we can all agree. They've stepped up the game since then. Okay. Sorry that I'm missing you in the chats. I have to go onto a separate screen to read the email. So let's have a look. Oh, geez. I really, really hope that my chat is not delaying us here. We all, Alonga and Zone, Warner Day. Have I just, I think my chat has gone completely haywire. Hold on, I'm refreshing it again. The chat just decides to pause and then it just streams like 50 messages coming in. Yeah, like literally it just stopped for a second. Okay, like Tolstoy wrote at Tao. I thought that would be funny for everyone. Okay, so yeah, how can you, if you can tell, talking about this watch, and it's, so the easy way to tell is the lug width. Another way is to tell that there's no crown between the Swiss and the Maid. That's the most easy. Another is the Submariner text is a little bit bolder, I think. But other than that, I think the handset has been adjusted a little bit more. Otherwise, the watch is virtually identical. And no date sub, this would be me in and out of Rolex, I think. It's all you need at the end of the day. Yeah, love the frosted frames. Love the Reverso Duo. What is going on? Is the chat, I mean, the YouTube chat is going, you have to see it on this end. I mean, there's talking about Reverso Duos again. The chat is actually struggling to, I don't know what is, okay, ladies and gents, I'm flying solo here. I'm flying without any chat going on at the moment. I have no idea why. YouTube has just completely delayed it, so I can't see it live. I'm getting messages about the JLC Reverso, which we featured like 20 minutes ago. Okay, I'm going to just have to keep refreshing the stream and hopefully catch up with you all. Sorry, everyone. YouTube does like to give you the finger when you least expect it. Right. So, beautiful watch. I love the story. And Submariner, dream watch for most. Next to Honor. Thank you for this, Nick. Speedmaster 57. Now, don't get confused with it being the Speedmaster 1957. 57 is kind of like their transitional tribute they had. I think they call it the Clooney watch. Let's see if I can, I don't know if I'm up to date with the chats now. Neil saying, don't worry. I don't know if this is a recent message. There's no timestamp to it, so I can't judge, but it's going to have to try. So there's Tommy Way. Thank you, Thomas, for giving the suggestion. Send me the email. It's in the description of the video if you want your watches featured. God, it's so weird. I can't actually keep up with the chats now. It's just stopped completely. So I will just keep refreshing the page as I talk. We have about 12 watches left, some good stuff. So the George Clooney, some cool things they did here. Like we have a sandwich dial. We have double subdials instead of triple. We have a date, which means that it's a coaxial model. I mean, that's the best way to tell when you look at any chronograph in Omega space. Whenever they have a date complication, you know it's a coaxial. Most of the time, I think there are a few exceptions when you go into the vintage areas. But they did incorporate like a broad arrow hand, alpha hands in many ways. Steel bezel, very true to the 57. As far as I know, it was the only Speedmaster that had a steel bezel. This is such a bummer that I can't see the chats. Hold on. Let's try. See if it's working with me now. Refreshing the stream again. Mark saying evening, looking forward to the show ahead. See what I mean? It's now literally jumped to the top of the show, I think. Maybe not. Super recent messages. Mark P saying evening, looking forward to the show ahead. Should be a good one. Now, Mark, I don't know if you're just pulling my leg or if you need a 1016. What the hell is going on? I don't know. Okay, how about this? Comment one in the chat if you can hear me now live. Let's see what happens. Right, moving on. Awesome watch. 1957s in general. I love their inspirations, their aesthetics. They are great pieces. Yeah, I don't know what's cracking. I see from BS saying, just look at the coaxial text to tell if it's coaxial. I mean, that's one way of doing it, unless you want to be a super watch nerd. Oh my God, you must see the chat. It's like the Matrix. I don't know what is going on here. That is amazing. I mean, James is leaving us now. I see 1 trillion ones, so that's good. That is so funny. Okay. Let's go next. Oh no, thank you for sending this in. I love this watch. Got to jump to Raymond. SA watch, bro. Now, Raymond was in the chat earlier. I'm seeing lots of ones. Okay, I think it is working now. I don't know what. I swear it was like the Matrix. Just thousands of chats just going all at once. I think my laptop's about to explode. Okay, let's see. It's 12:44 GMT now as I post this. Okay, good. So we're getting there, and it should be almost like 5 minutes now before it hits. It's 12:45. It's a whole minute behind. What is going on? Okay. Seiko Paddy Turtle. God, love this one. It's a classic. We featured this many times. Another piece that's great to get into when you're starting this hobby, and just excellent workhorse for what it is. When will the next wrist shot week take place? Tycho says it will be, and I'm seeing some recent comments. Sam Ray saying Paddy, it's good. The next show will be in 2 weeks' time. I hope, if I'm still alive, it'll be in 2 weeks. So that'll be what the end, like the 20th, I think, of February, somewhere around there. Yeah, that's the idea. Saturday. Mr. Marcus, good day. I don't know if this is a recent message or not. Neil saying naught, typing naught in the chat. That's helpful. Yeah, gorgeous shot. SA Watch Bro has an Instagram handle. What happens if I comment this in the chat? Let's see what happens. If you're on Instagram, I got that wrong. SA Watch Bro. If you're on Instagram, check out his handle. Another fellow South African. Mark, it's all good. I kind of put two and two together, but I really don't know what is cracking. If this is a recent message, type 1 now, Mark, because I think there's a serious, like a minute delay between messages that are coming through now, which sucks. Okay, so this is Raymond SA Watch Bro. Next is Raymond, the other Raymond Bramsell. I think he's in the chat. Let's have a look at these pieces and have a good look at some variety in this segment. Bronze set. You see, now I'm sure the chat must be going wild, but I'm not getting... Oh, that's so funny, guys. It's hilarious. Neil is leaving us. Missed my watches. This topic felt very apropos as I've taken the collection down to only a few love pieces. Yeah, it was just down to chance that it kind of worked out, I guess. But thank you. It's 6:46 here, and it's currently what, 6:47? Where I'm... Yeah, it's literally... It's like a full minute behind. So basically, send whatever your chat is. I'll only read it a minute later at this point, which is pathetic. Don't know what's the deal, YouTube, but thank you. Thank you for making my life all the more entertaining. So Raymond sends in a set of bronze watches. We have a Yema Moby Dick. I've always thought this as the Superman. I don't know why it's called the Moby Dick. Someone can help me out. We have an Ebel Discovery. We have an Oris pointed date. This is awesome. God, I love that dial. What's this? Hold on a sec. I got the full description. So it's now 12:47 GMT. Let's see, 12:48:30 where I'm looking at this now. Oh, it's so bad. We're getting better. It's like 45 seconds behind. So I think it's improving. If very on, I'm going to be rich by then after a Super 6. No, I don't think so. It's a start. It's always a starting point. So Ebel Discovery, Oris Pointer, we got a Nomino Polis, never heard of this before, and a Glycine Combat Sub HEV, I think it's called. Helium Escape Valve. Oh, this one goes really deep, I think. Yeah, it goes down really deep. Good talking point around bronze. Raymond saying yeehaw. Yeah, it's good to have you here, Raymond. We're still featuring your pieces. We've just started, at least. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So it's almost like, just to try and break it down to everyone, I'm only seeing the live chat a minute or so after you message. I have no idea why. Anyway, it's always good. Keep it entertaining. I'll take up this time by hitting a bit more whiskey, because I am losing oxygen in this room. So, where to start with bronze watches? Anonimo. Thank you. If I said that wrong, apologies. Yeah. So where do we even start? I mean, we're a bit further on to be talking about bronze watches in this space. Like this is like coming up to the 3-hour mark, and we're looking at collections. It's difficult, but there's some great pieces. Got to say, the Yema Superman, I think, is stunning. It really is a stunning watch. Chili Prepper, just one watch collection. Batman. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would have it on the Jubilee. That would be me. I would be happy. I mean, the GMT does pretty much do everything. You can use the bezel for the purpose of dive timing. You can use it for the purpose of, time zones. It's rugged, excellent color combination. Bracelets, I think the Jubilee is awesome. It dresses it up a little bit more. 1,200 meters, Raymond says. Wow, okay, so it does have a helium valve. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start with these. My absolute favorite, if I had to choose one, I think this, to me, that is great. Even with a bronze case, my pet peeves about bronze. Love the dial. I think it just works so nicely on this watch. It's so true to the original. I mean, the original pointers were very popular. Bronze Tudor Black Bay is also nice, yes. And Eric's saying, well spotted, those Italian watch collaboration. This is the maker. Yeah, again, what's the name? I'm never going to get this right, guys. Yeah, I've got to carry on motoring through. I can't keep up with the chat because it's not showing me anymore. So I'm just going to have to wing it, flying blind. Raymond, you also highlighted this, the Ebel Discovery. Really interesting piece. I love those quarter Arabics. So it's got a 2824 movement. What else did he mention here? That's it. A beautiful dial as well. And the case is also pretty nice. Gotta say, the case is nice. I do love the screws. That's fascinating. So I'm sure this has to do with how the bezel is secured in a way. And the way this is pronounced and how it matches the crown guards on the side here looks very, very nice. Really clean. I do like it. Oris is brown on bronze, Raymond. Yeah, I'm seeing these messages a minute later. It's freaking hilarious. I think it's almost like YouTube has incorporated slow mode into the chat. And hold on, I can say toggle timestamps. Check this out. Let's see what happens. Okay. Wow, that's so funny. So I've toggled timestamps to your messages you're sending in. The last one I got was 12:51, and that was a minute ago, quite literally a minute ago. So it's almost like YouTube has thrown this into slow mode where the chats are delayed for some stupid reason. Sorry about that, everyone. I mean, that ruins the whole idea of me getting to you while we're looking at a watch. But yeah. And Russell says chat stopped for you. Well, at least you can listen to me ramble on about whatever, wherever. Chat working. Oh God, now everyone says it. Oh no! Don't tell me I've broken it by adding timestamps. Technicalities. Okay, let's move on next to Raymond. Next selection he sent in were homage watches, and this was a good point to focus in on. I want to discuss this. Chat is working for me. Some are saying, some aren't. I'm going to turn off the timestamps now that I've worked out. Maybe that'll help. And now the chat just goes ridiculous. What? Blame it on Groundhog Day. Yeah, Samurai. Oh my God. It's Matrix again. Navy SEALs. I wish we got snow here. It's cold, 0 degrees Kelvin. What? Blame it on ground. I mean, now you see, we're seeing messages now from 20 minutes ago. This is freaking hilarious. Shield crown, don't submerge. This is when we were talking about the Black Bay. Jeez, this is like literally 10 minutes behind now. Okay, refreshing the stream and let's try and catch up. Sorry about that. I'm just going to try and ignore the chat while trying to address you when I see something that comes up. That's a bummer because we're going to be looking at some good. We're going to be looking at some good stuff in a moment. Okay, so when talking about homage watches, I think he mentioned in the email about getting watches that are Rolex inspired for a lot less or a lot cheaper. Now, the one on the right, I know very well. This watch actually started my channel, wouldn't you believe? And they are pretty tough watches. The one I have is a pure beta. I love it. I put on a NATO strap, wear the hell out of it, and they work exceptionally well for what they are. These two, I don't know so much. I think I got a description. So he said Ken Sato, who is an avid Rolex collector, basically came up with this brand of Rock X in the 90s. And I think he got sued by Panerai by making those cases on the left are wild. Okay, good. So I think we're kind of in the ballpark of a minute. I'm getting the chats. I see one from Nefarion now. They are awesome. I mean, these look like Tudor P01 cases with the offset crown and the bold elements there. Yeah, there's lots to take in. I mean, inspirations. Yeah, it's difficult to where do you find the line between homage and copy, and all the legal issues that go around that and everything there. But this hobby has many roads in and out, so it's all good. Raymond, thank you for sending these in. I've got to keep on going. I mean, I think we're just about to hit the 3-hour mark. It's 2 hours 55. I'm gonna swap over to Rock X. Yeah, no, it's good, right? I'm seeing these chats now. So Ken Sato, apparently he came up with the brand, as far as I know. Panerai Submersible Bronzo. Yeah, my chat is working. Yeah, it's so funny. I'm just getting it delayed on this side. Maybe if I get my phone out, I'll be able to see it. Hold on, let's try that. Okay, next we're jumping to Rolex Fanboy 69. I love your name. And this is a great feature. He said, I love the whiskey in the background. He says, Panda arrived, 20 months waiting. There's your result. Okay, let's see what I can do here. I'm taking my phone off airplane mode, and I'm going to switch to the live show and see if I can keep up with the stream through my phone. Rock and roll. Okay, I'm loving this. Sued by Panerai. BS. It's a long story. I don't know the full story. I'm sure Raymond will be able to clarify a bit more. Okay, so let's see. 20 months with, ooh, okay, this is good. I think I can actually see the chat on my iPhone SE screen. This is going to be a laugh. So it looks like Hans is leaving us. Is this current? Someone type 1 if I'm saying the right thing. Jean-Claude just said later Hans. He's leaving us. That's so funny. Classic username. Neil says, yeah, I agree. Rolex fanboy 69. So Panda watch, 20 months wait. Got to appreciate the Panda Daytona. And okay, this is good. So the phone, what a joke. The phone is actually keeping up. I wonder if I can make the screen bigger because I will literally go blind trying to top chat, live chat, all messages are visible. Okay, this is good. So the chat is sort of working much better on the phone, and I don't know how I'm going to blow it up. This is the one time when I need a big screen on my phone. This is going to be a laugh. So this is now actually real time on the phone for some reason. Okay, awesome watch. What haven't we said about the Panda Daytona? It's an awesome piece. Again, Hans, good having you here. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure, apart from this stupid chat glitch that I have no idea why it's so delayed. It's happening on both sides, both my phone and on the laptop. Who knows? Okay. Congratulations, Rolex Fanboy 69 on the Panda. It's an excellent one and done watch in this hobby. I mean, there's no denying it's superb. Overhyped, yes, but for what you're getting, it's a great machine. It'll last you very long. Sam Ray saying iPad. You won't believe I don't even have an iPad anymore. I need one. I do need an iPad. Okay, nice. Zenith. BDev says, okay, I hope this is recent from 57. I think we're kind of on track. That is so funny. So yeah, this is a nice Zenith. I got to say, they definitely did a good job here. I do love how they've borrowed the tri dial arrangement and the polishing on the brace, polishing on the lugs, and the ceramic bezel. Of course, you can't deny that. BDev, that was funny. Okay, Titanic hits berg, sinks. Never mind, old message. It's a little bit, only like what 100 years, 100 plus years old. That's funny. I like that. It's February 2021 right now. You guys are the worst. I tell you what, you're really making my life easy. Sam Ray, Hamilton Khaki 38. I'm just going to take a break and a swig from the coffee. Mark, that's the best. Oh, a great comment. I mean, we should talk about the Hindenburg next, right? Hindenburg disaster. Oh, the humanity. I'm using my iPad, still lags, BDev. Yeah, I don't know. L Daytona, that's so good, Samurai. It's fantastic. Really love the black dial Daytona. It's like the watch. Yeah, I mean, Jean-Claude, there's one guy that I follow on Instagram. I can never get his username is something like Carl Leone. What is it? Carl Leone sub 16610, and he has a Daytona on a Jubilee bracelet, and it's superb. It's just one watch. It's great. Okay, JCB's leaving us. Good to have you here, JCB. I'm so sorry that the chat's so bad. Okay, so it's a Perlon strap, 38 mil from Sam Ray, Hamilton Khaki. You can't really go wrong with this. When talking about a field watch, getting into this hobby in this space, thinking about the stream, oh, the humanity Neferion. Oh, that hurt. That really hurt. That's so good. I really walked into that one. Oh, the humanity. So the Perlon strap from Wrist Candy Watch Club. That's cool to know. Thanks, Samurai. Oh, the humanity. The 15. Oh, how's this? Check that out. That is trippy as. 15, 15, 15. That must be some kind of good luck, Samurai. Must be. Nice looking piece. God, I've got to breathe more. This is really bad, you know. New Orleans, oh, the humidity. God, I love it. You guys just keep it coming. Got to keep me entertained because I'm having to squint at my phone now. I've got it propped up against the screen and I have to squint at it to read what's going on. God, it's so dumb. What is going on here? This is the first time the chat's ever done this before. Next, we jump to an Orient Kamasu. I'm going to have to speed through these, Samurai. Sorry about that. You've sent in a lot, so we'll enjoy it. And stay forever. All the rest of you who are still watching. There's 140 of you still watching. We've got some gorgeous Cloisonne models in a moment, and a beautiful Parmigiani I've never seen before. And that's not a cheese. That's a watch. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Damn, beat me to the punch. Radio line for the Hindenburg. Yeah, Roar of the Tiger. I thought it would be good. That's creepy though. Hey, 15, 15, 15. What does that mean? This is another example of a watch. Excellent to get you started in the hobby. I think they've done some really good stuff with the typeface here and the red accent on the hand and the day-date complication and everything there. It's pretty nice, sharp. You know what this reminds me of? Seamaster 2254. Wow. Think about it. This looks just like the Seamaster 2254 with the arrangement. Sword hands, triangle at the 12. The batons are semi-obelisk, very kind of Seiko-ish in a way when you've got the oblique, what would you call it? Trapezoidal, kind of trapezoidal in a way. It's done with rectangles at the quarters. Okay, I'm going to have to refer to the chat. Squinting, hold on a sec. Moving on next to the Save the Ocean. Got to commend Sam Ray, became a dad last year, as far as I can tell by the mug. Save the Ocean, Seiko. Got to appreciate the turtle. Okay, I'm going to squint right into the phone screen. This is so funny. New Orleans, oh, the humidity. That was such a good comment, Mark. I loved it. So the Orient Kama Sutra, yes. I know that's it. 2254 influences, yes. Jean-Claude, I don't know if you said that before me. Mate, I said it first. That's again, I'm reading the chat now through this tiny little screen. ID Klein says, I do have some mouse clicking finger exercises. Get to bed early for 7 a.m. Oh, ID Klein, don't worry about it. Thank you for joining us and being here with us. It's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen. No one really knows. But if it's successful, that just means that I have more opportunity to grow and come up with some more outlying designs, hopefully. Mr. Marcus again saying, nice Zenith. We're talking now about the Seiko, delayed chats. Orient must stop using the hideous faux royal logo on there. Yeah, that's one element that I find is very divisive, is this arrangement here. I mean, the O for Orient could be the logo instead of this arrangement here. Good point. Is the crown blue? Let's see. No, it's not. As far as I know, it's not. Beautiful blue, though, as I think Russell said, great blue. And let's see. Thank you for putting the link in the chat, Thomas. I don't know if anyone can see it. 73 Math is commenting 1. And Mick in Florida says, I'll shout if that helps. Oh, God. Yeah, you might have lost me again in the chat, but at least the stream's consistent. Like, you're seeing everything live as I'm seeing it. The only downside is I can't read the chats quick enough. Can the Panerai Submersible Carbo Tech be a great long-term tool watch? Everyone answer Brand's question. Fascinating. I mean, I've loved the way they've incorporated that kind of technology in. The ID model they made with in partnership with Philips, I think it was. I absolutely enjoy. It's really good. It's so funny. Hell yes, time to drop it, Roar of the Tiger says. Yeah, you guys are so supportive. The blue is very nice, very James Cameron-esque, how it transcends to black. And the colors of blue, I think we've spoken about it before. The colors of blue with the lightness at the first 20. This is such a nice use of the, we were talking about the Pepsi bezel arrangement earlier on. Okay, next up, Alpinist. This being the pre-Prospex Alpinist. Try and say that 3 times fast. Pre-Prospex Alpinist. Mason, okay, I'm here now. You may begin. Well, Mason, you've joined at a very bad time where the chat has completely broken itself. So I'm currently reading the chat through my tiny little iPhone 5 screen. So I'm going to have to squint and see what I can do. I don't know why. The laptop's not working. Email in the description, yes, for the show. Brand, why not Carbotex? Tough as it is. It's such a cool material. So the Alpinist is a very divisive watch in many ways. It uses many elements of what we would say is aviation, Flieger inspired, cathedral hands, many aspects. We've spoken about this watch enough. Emerald green, nice looking piece though, gotta say. And yeah, gorgeous looking shot too. And now we can appreciate your new SARX 033 Sam Ray. I'll admit, I didn't know what that was until I saw the watch itself. Okay. Mason, it's great having you here, by the way. I didn't say hi. Let's see. I really like this Seiko, Mark B. Talking about the Alpinist. Yeah, it's a funny one. Hey, this is definitely hot and cold with people. I think the reason why you like it is it kind of reminds you of the Vacheron 56, Mark. The numerals arrangements there and everything. I don't know if, Mark, if you're big with Seikos, if you have any in your collection, but you know what? This might be the year of the Seiko for a lot of us. I mean, I've just picked up that Prospex. You never know. Cool watch to try on. I don't know how the compass bezel would be incorporated into to daily wearing. Okay, squinting again. Let's see. Condom tip hour hand. Yeah, you got that right. They're worse though. There are worse examples out there. This is appropriate. I mean, this is very true to the cathedral style hand from back in the day in many ways. Also like how there's a relationship with the seconds hand. It looks very neat. It's so funny looking at the chat. 73 Math, thank you for the super chat. I don't know if this is current or if this was done months ago. How do I get a span? You're not a moderator. Thomas, can you make him a moderator, or Mark or someone else? Go for it. Do it. Okay, condom tip hour hand. I don't know what's cracking here. Let's try again. Squinting at the phone. Yes, glad. So the Alpinist, yeah, discontinued. This was $400 when it came out. Okay. Now the new model with the Prospex arrangement. I don't know if it has the same movement. 6R. What is it? The 6R is 3.5 or something. I'm so useless. The Prospex model now costs $1,000, as Sam Ray says. It's nuts. Pay £5. That's so funny. Yeah, Jean-Claude, I'm very cheap that way for sure. Okay, I'm gonna try. Let's see. Can I actually make you? Hold on. Let's see if I can. Mouse and add moderator. Did that work? I think it did. All right. Keeping on 6R15. Thank you. Okay, I've got to carry on. Moving the phone, propping it back on the screen. Moving next to the SARX. As far as I could tell, this was cheesecake. But after the 3-hour mark, I'm not the best when it comes to delicacies. Let's appreciate this watch, though. What do they call this? Do they call this like the baby Grand Seiko? I don't know. But the aesthetics are beautiful. The way it plays in the light, very true to that whole arrangement. The blue dial, oh, it's gorgeous. Okay, I think I need to have the phone in my one hand while I do this. Okay, let's see. Mick in Florida, you guys are chatting amongst yourselves. And I think I've kind of caught up. I don't know. Mason, we're all good here. Well, we were until the chat decided to give me the finger. So we have blued hands. We have this champagne burst dial. I love the type. Automatic type is gorgeous. And it's just, it looks like a Seiko. It has its own language in virtually everything. The polishing, the finishing. I don't know much about this model at all. So maybe if you'd like to cover it a bit more, Sam Ray, that would be good. But it is a beautiful looking watch, gotta say. Also, just love that they've paid attention to the quarter batons at the side here. The applied Seiko logo, it's very clean, and the finishing on the case. I should have mentioned this earlier, but that finishing there, there's 3 different facets on this. Actually, it looks like there's 4. That is insane when you think about it. Hey, have a look. It's crazy. Do they call this Zaratsu polishing? I really don't know. Is cheesecake really cake? No, it's not. Russell says chat gone mad. Yeah. Don't worry, Russell. You're not the only one, so maybe it's just us on the South Coast. Whoa, chat is going nuts. Like Tolstoy wrote it, I'm seeing a... this is mad. Seikoholic now, Mr. Marcus. You're talking about me? I wouldn't say no, I'm not. I am very much new to the brand, and I'm still learning bits and pieces. But other than that, yeah. So funny. So let me try and get this cleared up. So let's move on next. Sam Ray, thank you for all of these. I don't know if you're still here with us. Yes, you are. SRX 055 with is the titanium one. Okay. Moving to Slatsman next. Corum Admiral's Cup, 45 tides in titanium on holiday. Cabo. Hold on. What? So we have 2 guys who are based in Cabo on holiday. Slatsman, do you know Alejandro? Are you the same person? Maybe you are. I don't know. I'm just running with it at the moment. Corum is a very underrated. Look at that strap on this piece. Okay. I'm going to get back on the phone. The phone seems to be keeping up with the time, but the chat on my laptop is just, everyone's saying hello and stuff like it's the beginning of the show over there. Bracelet goes so well. It sure does, Harry. I agree. Talking about the Seiko. Okay. Corum Admiral Cup. Look at that strap. That looks something else. Corum watches deserve some attention. It really does. And I don't know how you managed to get this shot, but it was well taken. Looks like you have 3 sets of hands, which is crazy cool. And I think the chat on my phone has officially stopped at 1:09, and it's now 10 past 1. So yeah, maybe it's... Is it really cheese? Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm afraid the phone chat is also going stupid. All good. Let's see. Semaphore numbers. It's an amazing strap. It does. Looks like a stealth fighter. That's good, right? That does line up with the stealth fighter sort of approach. Corum. It's a brand that deserves some attention. I don't know what they're famous for. Someone might need to help me there. Good prices on the secondhand market. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. And you can get some amazing stuff. So they have their own language in many ways too, similar to lots of other brands out there. So well worth looking into. Yeah, I don't know. The chat is literally going mad. I currently have how many super chats from 73 Math? I have 5, 6. I have 7 super chats from 73 Math, apparently. 8 super chats. That's how bad the chat's going. I've never in all my time doing these live shows, now I have 2 more. Oh my God. So I currently have like 19, 70. I don't think you'd actually are super chatting 73 Math, but it's just broken. I don't know. This is so fun. Okay, next up, Statsman. Gorgeous shot. I'm sorry, everyone who is at the end of the show. Sadly, you can't keep track of what's going on. No idea what the replay of the show is going to be like. Tides tracking. My God, what is going on in the chat? Yeah, 73 Math. You haven't sent any money across, but the super chat alert is going on constantly. Okay, I've got to carry on through. Thank you for the slats, man. We're jumping to Steve next. Goes by the username of Britain Steve. And he's wearing an SPB 143. We know this watch well. In the snow. Well, he's not wearing it, but it's drowning in the snow. They're famous for making ridiculously oversized watches, but in a good way. I like that. That's funny. The Corum Bubble, that's the famous one. Yeah. Dodecahedron, it might be BS. It's so funny, Russell. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but everything is just, it's haywire. It's a lot of fun, I got to say. Mentioning ETA movements from NPT, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Looks a bit too complicated to be an ETA, but it's a tide. Okay, I've just realized it's a tide measurer. No idea how that works. Okay, I've got to move on. I don't know how the rest of the show is going to pan out, but stay for the end because you're going to see some beautiful watches that I'm going to talk over. SPB 143. I've just reviewed this watch and it's a lot of fun. It's the Black Bay of the Seiko line. I think they're doing some excellent stuff here. Yeah, now my phone chat is also broken. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, I'm gonna try and refresh it on my phone and see if that works. Yeah. So if you need any talk around this watch, you'll see it on the show. I just picked up a Marine Master clasp of this. Would highly recommend if you can find one. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Chaz from the Berg. I think they'll drop about 8 a.m. Chicago. Oh, there's questions. Yeah, chat is good. Maybe refresh. I don't know what is going on, guys. Anyway, yeah, the chat is now that's so bad. 10 to 1. That's how bad. That's how far behind it is. Okay, I'm flying blind again. Back to next. So, Steve, thank you for sending this in. This has thrown me off guard terribly. Thank you for sending this in, Steve. Gorgeous looking model. I love it. I've been enjoying the hell out of it, and I will continue to. I'm looking forward to doing like a month on the wrist review later on. Jumping to Tetley. I hope you're listening to me live, ladies and gents. If you are, I'll say that apparently the streaming is live, but the chat is completely broken. So listen to my voice. You don't have to chat. Just sit back, relax, enjoy yourselves, and I'll lull you to sleep. Okay, I'm putting the phone down because it's obviously not working. It's not working at all. It's Matrix again. CWC G10 Fat Boy from 1980 on the wrist. Now, we saw a Precisto earlier on. Another superb example. We love the age of the tritium on the dial. This being another Swiss quartz. Now, I'm trying to remember if I got this right. CWC came before Precisto watches, I think. Maybe Eric Bell can attest. Oh my God. My phone is having a seizure now. Let's see what else. I see mentioning about Orient. Okay, yeah, it's broken. It's just broken completely. He's talking about Orient watches, and that was like 20 minutes ago. Okay. So 1980 is gorgeous example. We have Serifont. We have this awesome, I mean, look at that hangover on the 7. Speaking of hangovers, it sounds like the live stream is having a serious one at the moment. Look at the 2 there. It's just stunning. The white paint on the hand. It's so funny. This is like I'm literally presenting to myself right now. Tides tracking. I think we're catching up. We're only 5 minutes behind now in the chat, so that's good. 5 minutes, and this is a channel that's supposed to be about time. Right, another cool shot of this watch. These cases, a lot of you in the chat probably grew up or probably, served with these watches because they're all from around the 80s, and these were very much in circulation. In fact, I'm almost certain that Eric Bell wore one of these watches back in the day. This was his baby. Now I'm seeing ones being commented at 12:56. Literally 25 minutes ago or so, 20 minutes ago. Yeah. So I'm not even going to refer to the chat anymore. I think it's completely broken. Absolutely decimated. Right, moving on. Tetley, love this shot. Love these watches. I mean, I have a Smith's W10. I'm looking into a vintage one. which I'm thinking of jumping on. They're very nice. But as far as field watches go, everyone should get them and enjoy them. They are a pleasure. Moving on next to talking watches. Talking watches. Oof, hold on. No, not that one. This one. Parmigiani Tonda GT. He has an awesome channel, by the way. I'll put that in the chat, but I can't because the chat is literally melting down as we speak. And thank you everyone for the thumbs up on the video. I mean, I'm just talking to myself now. This is the only child in me coming out. Right, Tonda GT. Awesome looking piece. We featured a Moser Streamliner of his recently, which was stunning, and a couple of others. I think a Pioneer a while back. So we have the running seconds at the base. Look at the finishing on the dial. We have a large date, and what is to be appreciated with this watch especially is excuse me, the way the bezel works here. I love the fluting on the bezel. Now, for those of you, there's still like 140 of you still watching. Thank you who are still watching. I will say that there's some from this onwards. If you're interested in high horology, you're going to be seeing it in spades. So please stay on. You're going to be seeing just beautiful. We're going from here. We're going to Patek, and we're going to end. Yeah, we're going to end with Patek after Parmigiani. We've got about 6 more submissions to go. Roar of the Tiger says, "I feel broken." Hey, this looks like it's caught up. Love the CWC. Okay, good. I don't know if you guys are seeing the chat, but now I'm catching up, I think. But so now we had Parmigiani, and my phone's having another seizure. Okay, so let's have another look at some more micro details. Look at the movement of this watch. Parmigiani, we had a look at Gerard Perigo a second ago, and I'm getting emails now on my phone. Please don't email me while I'm doing this. I nearly shat myself. Right, so GT movement, 33 joules. It's awesome. Now everyone's going to start emailing me now. Oh, God. I'm going to keep the phone in my hand while I do this. Let's see. Gorgeous looking rotor. I love, my favorite thing when it comes to rotors is when it's evacuated. Look at this. Speaking of evacuations and shatting yourself, that's pretty close, right? Evacuated bowels. So gorgeous hollow components here. I mean, my favorite, I think, is the AP rotor. It's superb, absolutely sublime. And if everyone says, "I'm here for Russell's grand finale," yes, we're definitely going to be seeing some beautiful stuff, something we haven't seen before, I think, at all. 22 karat gold. Has the chat actually caught up? I can't believe it. This is a Christmas miracle, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I think we're there. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So it just goes to show, let the system do its work. Right. Awesome looking movements, stunning, and we still have a few more shots of the watch on wrist. This was almost a cover photo. I mean, this was literally the second contender to being the cover. Look at that. Look at the charcoal, the finishing, the texture on the dial. There's so much detail to it, along with the fluting of the bezel, the articulating center links. It's a beautiful looking watch. We speak about watches like the Lunga Odysseus, say. Russell, I'm sure you're still here. It's caught up. Brett is mentioning, I think it has. I don't know. We mention often, I mean, addressing Russell, your Odysseus, for an example. This is like the contender next to the Odysseus in the Parmigiani line. Parmigiani. I hope I'm getting it right. I don't know. I don't know anymore. What is real? But the color combination, I love the charcoal gray, this shirt. I was inching to getting it. The only reason why I didn't was there just wasn't enough contrast as a thumbnail. It didn't really stand out too much. But maybe next show I will feature this as the cover because it's beautiful. It is an exceptional model. Integrated bracelets? No, I wouldn't say. It has a female end link here. So technically not. Let's get another shot of the bracelet here, side view. Yeah, there it is. Beautifully organic. And what makes Parmigiani so good, hold on a sec. Come back. You can't actually tell. It's fascinating, actually. You can only see it from a side view, but this is what makes the Parmigiani so important. The way they do these teardrop lugs is their key trait. I'd go Zapek myself. That's funny. Chicken Parmo, chicken Parmy. Parmigiani, this is a beautifully balanced style. Gorgeous proportions, yes. The negative space, various elements, it's beautiful. It is really beautiful. I've never seen one of these before. Tonda GMT. And it's so great that this ended up being one of the watches that ends the show. I mean, it's one of these pieces to cap it off. The spacing is done so well, gotta admit. Yeah, it's stunning. It really is really stunning. And I don't know if this is keeping up. It looks like we are. So 120, and I'm seeing Brent commenting saying, why does this make me think of cheese? Well, many good reasons. We have lots of elements that are sharp, very true when it comes to grating cheese in general. The type Parmigiani does kind of sound cheese-ish in many ways, but yeah. It's common joke amongst us in the space. Okay, going to carry on here. So, Talking Watches, thank you for sending this in. A beautiful example. I have never seen this piece before. I'd love to feature it again, but love the dial. Sam Ray says, big dates have their advantages. They do. They really do. Let's get another shot of the date in a different light setting and see if we can enjoy it a bit more. I must say the window is a little bit heavy. I'd probably appreciate if the window was a bit lighter, as you know, not so much metal highlighting it. But otherwise, I mean, it's an awesome machine. Very contemporary, has its own modern flair, but then the fluting kind of gives you that idea. We looked at Hanhart's earlier, kind of gives you that idea of an Air King from the 50s, you know, pilot, Flieger inspired. Okay, to Russell next. One of his favorite watches in the space, some outliers. Oops, sorry, Magic Mouse. This he calls a chameleon in the space. It's the 6007A stainless steel Calatrava. As far as I know, he passed on this watch. I think he had it for a week, and then he got rid of it. If I remember right, I don't know. But just stay on for the next little while because you're going to see some awesome finishing. Some of the most beautiful painted dials I've ever seen before. Okay. Oh, now saying, wow, I think we are keeping up in time. Maybe not. It's just past 22 now. Oh, God. Timekeeping. So, limited edition of 1,000 pieces. This blue dial really changes in the light. This was in his email to me. And I mean, it's true. It's like a slate gray in this context. And they did a good job with the roulette arrangement. I don't know so much about the texture in the center of this dial. It's a little bit strange, but otherwise, the roulette numerals, date window being centered there, it's okay. It's a very Patek thing to do. No, I still got it. Oh, cool. Looks like the chat is caught up on my laptop, but slow on my phone. Isn't that awesome? Okay, this is good. Something's working for once. Okay, so you still have it. I didn't know that, Russell. Wow, I thought you had a collection of like 12 pieces. Quite amazing. I really look forward to the day we can sit down and chat about these things because, I mean, you have a very interesting taste in pieces. Okay, so let's carry on with the next selection. Now, these really kind of made my jaw drop. I don't know what to look at first. Okay, two beautiful Cloisonné dials. Get ready. The first one, I'm going to put the phone down now. This is really irritating me, having one hand to do all the managing of what's going on here. It's well loomed. Yes, talking about loom markers, yes. So the laptop is caught up with the stream. My phone hasn't. It's so dumb. It's just so dumb. Layaway. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so yeah, fully loomed. It's an awesome watch. Very sporty. It's also stainless steel, so you could use it everywhere you go. Definitely use it diving. Put some silicone oil in there, thanks to Eric Bell. Excellent diver's watch. Okay, so let's start first with a pattern. Both of these watches, Russell passed on. Ready. Anita Prochet after Henry Rousseau's lion painting. Is this not the craziest enamel work you have ever seen? Now, you don't buy these watches to tell time. You merely hold on to it to pass it. I'm trying to get the Patek. I can't remember the quote. It doesn't tell time. No, that's the Rolex quote. I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at these details here. I mean, okay, where do we even start? Good thing this is a 5K res screen. We can really enjoy. Okay, this is good. So the laptop is now stopped. It can't keep up, but the phone is. I see Eric with an FMD. Yeah, I agree. Art, geez, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This is, you know, what really caught my eye. What took me by surprise is the leaf. How are the leaves? I should say, how the leaves have been done here is just artistry. Something you need to know about painting is that it's all about layers and it's all about gradient. And the gradient used on this, I mean, it's just, I don't know how the enamel painting works. I don't understand the process fully, but gotta say, see what Russell says. I still can't believe I passed on this one. Personally, Russell, I like the other one that you sent me. The next one is my favorite, and I'll tell you why. But yeah, it's beautiful. It really is just, the thing is, you'd never buy this watch to tell time. It is really just, the most hilarious thing is that if you had to go into public with this watch, odds are they would call it a swatch. They would think, oh, nice swatch you're wearing. And then you kind of just look at them and wink and go, yeah, it's a cool swatch, got to say. It really is a cool swatch. It's great. Okay, though my phone chat is working, laptop chat's broken. Email, yes. So the reason why they put this here is because at the back of the watch, the email address is there. So if there is a problem with it, you can email Patek directly. It's very useful. It's a joke. And also signed at the corner here, Anita Pochet. Sorry to say I don't know her as a painter or as a finisher, but there's her signature, which is nice and subtle. Yeah, BDF seeing it means enamel. Yeah, it does. It means enamel in French, but there's a question that Mark asked me a while back, Mark P, and I said, yeah, it's because the email address is on the back of the watch. They really thought of everything for customer service. Yeah, it's cool. I love the colors, the contrast. They use turquoise. They use a very dark shade of green. They use some olive drab. Really nice use of turquoise blending in there. It's beautiful. And the lion we haven't even addressed. I mean, it's nuts. This is crazy. Okay. Russell says, look her up. I will. I most definitely will. What's AP and email? Dan's asking. I don't know if I'm keeping up with the chat, but email her. Jean-Claude, that's great. I love it. I love it. I'm a sucker for grand faux enamels. Yep. So am I. So am I. Okay, it looks like the laptop is keeping up and the phone is not. So, more emails coming in. Stop sending me damn emails, people. Please, I'm begging you. I shat myself again. Right. Okay. Let's carry on here. So we have lions. We've got the jungle. Even though this is the wrong environment for lions to be based. For those of you who've been to Africa, lions don't live in the jungle. But that's the greatest irony of the modern world. They don't know that lions don't live in jungles. They live in savanna and they live in grassland and plains. So yeah, this is actually completely wrong. This must be, I don't know this painting. Let me try and get the painter's name again. Henry Rousseau. I would imagine he was like a 30s, maybe, or 1920s deco. Me and art, I'm not the best. But this is kind of like the interpretation of lions in the jungle, which is a complete farce. Right. My favorite, though, this next one coming up, Lost Lion. Is that what it's called? Thank you, Russell. So it's called the Lost Lion. That's good. And the laptop now doesn't. Oh, it is keeping up, I think. I don't know. Goat will fail, in my opinion. What's the price, by the way? Brent is asking. That's a good point. What is the price, Russell? I would imagine, 6 figures. If that enamel Patek had a reverso feature, imagine flipping from traditional to that enamel dial. Oh, can you imagine? The funny thing is, reversos have done it. Reversos have made some incredible enamel dial variants, commemorating Japanese artists and all the rest there. It's amazing. It is amazing. You never actually own a Patek. Yes, that's it, Andreas. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to switch to my favorite. Now, I don't know if it's yours. Actually, we can maybe comment A and B. I'm losing my voice. Let's get the Fisherman's Friends out quickly. Here's my rescue. Fisherman Friends, Cherry, when your life is in need. Right, my favorite is this. I would be taking this over the jungle shot. So this is another limited edition of a mandarin fish. If you know your saltwater fish collecting and keeping, mandarin fish are some of the most colorful, and you'll see them often accentuating fish tanks. So as I said, saltwater, as in not fresh water. And the finishing here, I just love this. For me, it's not just the finishing on the fish itself, but it's the coral. And the email address is nicely addressed. It's cursive, it's beautiful, it's very elegant. Blue shirt, sorry that you're late. Blue shirt, we've had a hell of a time. Gotta say, the chat is not working. It's not keeping up with what's going on. So I'm currently using a phone and the laptop screen to try and determine what's cracking. But enjoy your time. We're going to look at some beautiful pieces before the show ends. So Russell says this piece is still available. Email me for contact. You know what, Russell? I will. Will it take £50 for it? Maybe. I don't know if that equates. But it's stunning. Also, really love the turned bezel. Come back. I really love the finishing here. It reminds me of the hobnail that was used on the Calatrava. Hold on. What was it, the 5122, the 5211, the 521? I can never get the reference right. But you know what I mean, that hobnail Calatrava that was very popular. Welcome again, Blue Shirt. Let's see, I'm referring to the chat. The phone chat looks slow, so I'm checking the laptop and email for an email. Yeah, it's good. So this is my favorite of the two, I think. It's just down to I think the coral really sets it apart. This looks so authentic to a coral reef. Don't know so much about the fish. The fish could be a little bit darker maybe in places, but the colors are incredible. and you can read the time on this one. The issue with the other one is that it's very, actually, you could, depending on the lighting situation, you probably could enjoy it very much. Yeah, it's cool. It really is stunning. Some amazing, amazing pieces. And last but not least, we featured a 5711 to end the show. We always enjoy featuring Russell's pieces at the very, very end. A 5740G. This is probably the best. I think this is the best photo you've ever sent of this watch before, Russell. So we can just drink it all in. White gold, Nautilus. It is a perpetual. Please, I never get it right. It is a perpetual calendar. It is exceptional. It really is stunning. Gotta say it is. Speaking of which, to the 128 of you who are still watching, watch Talk with the Punters. I'm going to put this in the chat now for you all. Watch Talk with the Punters is a new live show run by Blue Shirt and Thomas, happening on Sunday, tomorrow. Click on that. Copy that description, put it in the search bar, check out the channel, subscribe, and check out their show, which happens at 7 p.m. UK time. Put your timestamps wherever you are in the world and recommend it, everyone. It's just a great time to talk watches amongst each other, and it's a great hangout. I don't know if I'll be there, but I'm going to be so hungover after this. Yeah, oxygen deprivation is hitting me hard. In closing, yeah, for sure it is. So this is, I mean, I'm not the big Nautilus fan. I'm really not someone who's a big Nautilus fan in the world. But this, to me, when this was launched, I said, yes, this is exactly what this watch deserves. The balance on this dial, I say this every single time, but the balance of those sub-dials, it just works. It's so nice. I mean, as far as a daily wearing watch goes, how could you get bored of this machine? It's impeccable. Oh, it's so good. It looks like the chat is actually caught up. That's great. I'm going to lock the phone and get it out of my sight, because that's just a distraction. Yeah, Bud the Stud. I don't know how long you've been here with us, but your AP was incredible. I would probably give up a kidney for the 202. At this point, I'd give up a kidney for the 15202 and another one for the 124060, and just go on a dialysis machine. I will maybe invent a small portable one that I can attach to a backpack and just walk around on dialysis for the rest of my life. That's how much I do enjoy these watches. It's stunning. I mean, the finishing, it's just, you don't want to scratch this watch. Russell, I don't know how you treat it, how you look after it, but you're doing a good job. Gotta say, you're doing a very good job. And you know, it's crazy for me to believe that maybe one day, if the world ever opens up again, that I might be able to actually handle one of these. It would be insane. I've only ever handled the standard steel Nautilus. Mentioning by Kevin saying, do you still have your Smiths? I do. There's lots of Smiths news happening in the next week. I've got a review video coming up on Thursday. And yeah, you must handle it very carefully, Russell. I agree. Hey, the chat finally caught up. That's awesome. It's a beautiful watch. I mean, how can you just, I'd love it. I could just sit and look at it all day. But then we can't also deny let's see if I can, since we're closing the show up, we've been 3.5 hours, we've been running. You cannot deny enjoying a gorgeous Royal Oak Jumbo. Bud the Stud is also one of the hero watches of the show. And we also cannot deny the 5711. We've had a good time. The variety is just awesome. These shows always surprise me, as I hope they do you. Russian roulette, but you know, the surprises always come in spades. Time for a shot. Blue Shirt says, you know what? I think I will. And there was another comment saying, you'll get your AP when the Commando money starts coming in. Carry on. No chance. Absolutely no chance. AP is so out of my price. I mean, geez, like, I'll tell you again, my philosophy when it comes to picking up watches, let me just hit the whiskey. My philosophy is going to be, for the next watch that I buy, I'm hoping it's going to be something higher up in the luxury space. I would love to pick up a Submariner. But I have to have double the price of the watch in my bank account in order to pull the trigger, whatever the watch is. If it's 20 grand, then I need 40 grand in the bank account, and so it is. I think it's a good philosophy to have, because it forces you to be more considerate when picking up the watch, and gives you a bit more time to think. So yeah, beautiful piece, stunning show. Apart from the stupid glitch at the beginning, yeah, it's been a joy, ladies and gentlemen. Only got one wrist, Russell says. Yeah, I mean, that's it, hey? Russell, your collection is nuts. And I can't wait to debut your next one. I mean, yeah, it's so hard. I mean, I've been studying up on the watch like mad. all I can say, ladies and gents, when we see Russell's next watch, he should be flying out to Geneva to get it after Valentine's Day, I hope. That is really a nail in the coffin when it comes to collecting. You must have a great financial plan. Yeah, I agree. But that's the thing. I mean, that's something that this hobby doesn't teach you. It's, in many ways, the sad thing about this platform is it's all consumerism based. There's no talking about, being careful with your money in this space and what to look after. It's very easy to deplete money fast with these things. I told you about buying guitars a while ago and how a D28 is like $2,000, which is just nuts because a D28 is a beautiful machine. It just does it all. In the watch space, that barely gets you anywhere, So what's news on the Smiths, Kevin? In the description, let me try and I'll put the link in the chat again for everyone. I'm so glad the chat is actually caught up now. I designed a watch with the owner of Time Factors. We had a bit of a collaboration exercise, and the watch is launching tomorrow on this page. So have a look. If it works out, then who knows? More development as it goes. Russell, I can't wait to share your watch. But anyway, I'm speaking in circles again, as I always do. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 3 hours and 37-ish minutes. It's been an awesome time. Thank you all for being here, for being a part of the shows, and for sending in these pieces. I mean, we've had some beautiful examples. We've had duo faces, white, black. We've had Black Bays and Hot Springs. We've had Air Kings and double tourbillon Grubel 4Cs, Ressence. I mean, where else do we go? Hydro modifications, thanks to Eric putting silicone in the piece. Gorgeous shot from Demetrius of the Black Bay, and it just never stops. These shows always just get more and more exciting. This started the show, which I have never seen before, and it's never stopped. Oh, I should also just feature the Commando. So this is the next generation of the Everest that I've evolved a little bit, a bit of a collaboration exercise. Yeah, it's been good fun. This hobby is an endless rabbit hole, grobbit hole, as I said in one show. So I'm going to close off here, ladies and gentlemen. Been an absolute joy having you here. I'm going to get off this screen share and address you a little bit more in the chat. Stop share. And just say that, but apart from the glitch, it's been a good time. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. How long has it been? It's been about 3.5 hours-ish. It's pretty good, surprisingly. And Thomas, thank you for the super chat, saying thank you for everyone who's sending your shots. Tune into the show tomorrow. Yes, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm going to basically sleep until like 1 in the afternoon, take a couple of shots of coffee, and I'll be there with you guys. I think it's a great time where we can just all banter around each other's collections, and it's a good time. You'll see. Jean-Claude, I thought you were supposed to leave us, Jean-Claude. It's a pleasure that you've been here the entire time, man, really. And to everyone else, to all of you who have sent watches in, I can't thank you enough. I've been a bit slow with the uploads lately. I've been taking my time, being a bit more considerate with the editing and everything there. And come Thursday will be the next review video, which has kind of changed the whole recording schedule, so it should be good. And Russell, thank you for the super chat. I didn't breeze through it at all, Forbin. We had, Oh the Humanity at one stage, the Titanic sinking. It was a good time. Ladies and gents, thank you as always. Take care of yourselves. I hope you have an exceptional weekend over the next few days, and see you in the next one. Another one of these in 2 weeks' time. Who knows what it'll bring? That's the excitement. I hope to feature Russell's watch at the end. That is going to be a showstopper. Or maybe it can be the cover photo. Who knows? Lots of love as always. Cheers, everyone.